With Pokemon Champions on the horizon, and the Mega Pokemon returning for the first time since Generation 7, I thought this would be the perfect time to talk about all the Pokemon shown in trailers and screenshots so far. But today, I'm not alone. I'll be joined by my friend Jack, aka JPTKVGC on YouTube. Jack has over 10 years of experience playing VGC and is very knowledgeable on past Mega formats. He is also one of the best ladder players in the world with multiple first place finishes and a recent second in the Global Challenge, so make sure you check out his channel. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright Jack, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well. So today we're going to be looking at all of the Pokemon that have currently been revealed so far in Pokemon Champions. This is through things like the trailers and the screenshots as well revealed on the websites. Today's going to be just a bit more of a fun discussion, right? You know, Jack's been around VGC for quite a while at this point. I've been playing Pokemon itself, by itself just for a hot minute as well. And we're just going to talk about all of the Pokemon. We're going to rank how good we think they might be and basically just discuss some of the sets that we think are going to be pretty common on these Pokemon. As for the tiers, the S tier will be Pokemon that is always going to be good. This is just regardless of the format, whether the restricteds are in, the Paradox Pokemon, stuff like that. These is going to be great Pokemon. The A tier is just Pokemon that are, typically always good, right? Maybe there's going to be some formats where they're not great, but for the most part, if they're legal, they're pretty solid. B is probably going to be right format, right? These are Pokemon that maybe don't, thrive necessarily in a restricted format or a legendary format, but maybe in a low power format or, again, very specific formats I could see them being good. The C tier is niche tier where maybe they fill a very specific role, of course, and then the D tier is probably not good. I didn't want to put an F tier because I feel like, especially in a mega format, you're probably always going to be able to find something a Pokemon can do, but typically speaking, regardless of the format, they're probably not great. Anyway, to kick things off here, Jack, do you want to tell us what you think about Mr. Venusaur?
So Venusaur, I'm gonna probably say he's maybe around a B tier mon, A tier mon. It really heavily depends on what else is going to be available in the format. Obviously, if Dynamax comes back and it gets its Gmax form, it's going to be really strong. It does pair up really nicely with Charizard, with Chlorophyll, gets access to Sleep Powder. Obviously, Lilligant hasn't been revealed yet, so if that's not available in the format, it will be the premier Chlorophyll user. But if Lilligant is added to the game, it could probably knock it down a few pegs. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for Venusaur. What about yourself?
Yeah, look, I think it's obviously very similar to Lilligant, right? In the sense that, they're fast sleep powder mons. Of course, Venusaur is slower than both of the Lilligant forms, so that is, I guess, one of the major problems with it. Obviously, the typing is a little different. Do you want poison or do you want fighting? But I do agree. I don't know how good its Mega will be. Maybe you can touch on that a bit more. Like, I don't really know what this guy does in VGC. But obviously, if its Gmax is legal at some point in the near future, then I think that completely changes it. Obviously, its signature G move, what is it? Max Vine? Not Max Vine Whips. What's it called?
I think Vine Lash, Vine
Yeah,
Whip. I
Vine
can't
Lash,
really
yeah.
remember
Yeah,
right now.
that sounds about right. But yeah, no, the Gen 1 starters, their Gmax moves are broken, right? Doing 1/3, is it 1/3 of their HP per turn?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
1/3 in total team's health,
Yeah,
1/6
sorry, 1/6,
per
yeah.
turn.
So a very, very broken passive. Look, I think I do tend to agree. I'm a huge fan of base form Venusaur with Charizard. It also did gain access to Weather Ball as well. Like, I don't know if that was a new thing for Gen 9, but having Weather Ball, like, basically having an option to, click a fire type move in Sun is like never a bad thing, right? It gets good coverage. It has moves like Earth Power, right? Obviously, it gets Leaf Storm. It also gets Sludge Bomb, so its coverage is definitely there. Its support kit, as you mentioned, right? It gets stuff like Sleep Powder, so I could see this thing with like Covet Cloak, like 4 moves, like no Protect being like pretty solid. Like personally, I kind of want to put it in the A tier. The only reason why I think it might be B tier is it's hard, right? Because I think in like a Paradox format, this Pokemon is just not good. It can't outspeed things like Fluttermane in the Sun. But then if you added Gmax into the format, then all of a sudden maybe it does change it. So like I'm kind of going back and forth between B and A. I guess, is there anywhere like solid that you would want to put it in right now?
Yeah, so me personally, like I would put it in B, but just to touch upon its Mega, because then that's also a whole other layer that can be added to it. So the way that its Mega is typically run is actually like very bulky, and it has typically a lot of investment in HP, and what does make it actually pretty good is that since it has the Poison type, it's one of the Pokemon in the game that can resist Fairy types, which is now one of the best types out there. And then also with access to Thick Fat, it does really make it very defensive. So the thing about Venusaur, which is going to be kind of a really tricky balance, is that you could either go with this chlorophyll user that has, really strong moves, sleep powder, or you could go with this really defensive set, and you can actually maybe fake out some teams if you have a combination of Charizard and Venusaur. So from the sense of trying to surprise someone, it might be pretty good. But I think in like an open team sheet format where you do know your opponent's moves and their strengths and their weaknesses, I do think it moves down a little bit. But it also does have the ability to run Grass Pledge, which I see you have on the screen right now with Charizard, which also, is another little nice effect in the game as well.
Yeah, and look, we can probably transition this well into Mega Charizard in particular. One of the things, let me put in Megazard actually. One of the things I like about this, for anyone who I guess doesn't know how the pledge moves work, like each like the Rainbow, the Swamp, and the Sea of Fire, they're all a specific type. The Sea of Fire, which is Grass plus Fire, is actually the Fire type move, right? And because Venusaur is technically faster because of Chlorophyll, Charizard does get a base 150 base attack coming off this stupidly high special attack. So that is one thing worth mentioning. This is a very, very, very strong attack that Charizard gets to click. And you essentially get to use Venusaur's Chlorophyll stat to get it off, right? Like you've got something like this, essentially, you click the Grass Pledge, it automatically pulls the Mega Charizard forward. So like Mega Charizard is the next attack in line. So it gets to use the Venusaur's, speed stat, and then it gets to just click a base 150 power. Sorry, is it 150 or is it 160 actually? Because it doubles, right?
I'm gonna be very honest. I can't really remember at the moment. Either way, it's really strong. But yeah, it does have that really nice effect. And I remember back in like 2015, like I was actually running that combo for a little bit with the pledges, and it was so good at the time. But yeah, like it definitely really is a nice thing that both mons have access to, and it does make the synergy between them even stronger than what it already is.
Yeah. And look, I guess we'll use this as our chance, I guess, to transition into Charizard, because I do think B tier is probably the right spot for this. Maybe you could argue it's like low A, but I'm pretty comfortable with B. With Charizard, where do you think this sits? Because I think there is almost an argument that it is S tier just because of how good its like Mega is, how good its Dynamax is, and then it also has the option of a second potential Mega. And then on top of that, in a low power format, Charizard as like a solar power sweeper is also pretty good.
Yeah, so I would actually say it's also S tier. The thing that's kind of nice about Charizard is that going into Gen 9, even though we obviously didn't have Megas, I felt like a lot of the Megas actually, not that they necessarily became weaker, but there's more competition that is challenging them for being the top Mega. So like Salamence, I think, took like a little bit of a hit going into this gen, even though it's not in Champions, just because, you had things like Fluttermane added and strong steel types like Goldengo and Archaludon, and then you also have Chen Pao. Charizard's, yeah, and Charizard's one of the few Megas that actually there wasn't so much added to the game that challenges it, other than maybe like Raging Bolt and things such as that. But the thing that is really nice about it is that, it's really strong, and there's actually many different ways that you can run Charizard Y. Like, you can run a very fast offensive set. You could actually run very defensive with Tailwind. There have also even been Charizard sets, like, back in the past, like in 2015, that did well on Trick Room teams, and it actually was a really slow, bulky Charizard with coverage moves like Heat Wave, Overheat, Solar Beam. Every once in a while, you saw, like, Ancient Power, which was kind of unique, and I remember, I think at one point in time, people were running, like, Hidden Power Ground on it to challenge Heatran. But it definitely, I think, is like an S tier mon just because of its flexibility and then all the different things that it can do.
Yeah, no, look, I'm with you. One thing I do think actually worth mentioning, Charizard did lose Tailwind in this generation, or Generation 9.
Ooh, I actually did not know that.
Doesn't mean it might not get it back, because I actually was having a conversation with a friend the other day. I'm like, oh yeah, just run like Double Fire Tailwind, and then he's like, it doesn't have Tailwind. And I had a look, I was like, damn, it actually lost Tailwind. But yeah, look, I agree. I think this mon, when you look at like every form it has, it's good. Like, as I mentioned, Charizard as a Sun Sweep is not bad. We saw that in Regulation H with that Marco Sun team, where like this mon with Choice Specs Weather Ball, it does stupid damage, right? As you mentioned, Charizard Y, it really didn't gain a lot of competition. In terms of like a Sunsetter that isn't a restricted, it's just by far the best, right? You got Torkoal and Ninetales, has the same speed tier as Ninetales, but like double the special attack. And Torkoal is like, if you want to play a Sunroom team, fine, but like Charizard is just, again, way better. its Gmax is probably the best Gmax in the game. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Gmax Wildfire is like, it's probably the best, right?
Yeah, so I would say probably Charizard was the best Gmax user. The second best was probably like Colossal when it was around. But obviously, in order to make like Colossal work, there was a lot you needed to do to kind of support it, such as Surf users to kind of activate Weakness Policy and its Steam Engine ability. Where with Charizard, you know, when it did go into its Gigantamax form, you didn't need to activate a Weakness Policy for it to just blow up teams because Solar Power was active when Sun was up. So it just made it like really, really strong. It definitely was one of the strongest Pokemon ever in competitive, just from my experience of playing the game for a while. But yeah, it's really, really good, dude.
Yeah, and I think worth mentioning as well, like it is the least talked about Charizard form, but Charizard X is also not bad. Like a Tough Claw's boosted Flare Blitz and Dragon Claw are both like actually really, really strong. And then on top of that, the Pokemon just has a lot of utility, right? It gets moves like Roost. It also gets moves like Will-O-Wisp as well. So like, I believe like way back in the day, Wolf ran like a really bulky like support Charizard, didn't he?
Yeah, so that was back in the 2015 format. I think Wolf finished, oh man, I can't remember if it was 9th or 12th at Worlds that year, but he was running a team that was actually meant to kind of counteract Chalk, and Charizard was actually one of the pieces on it because Will-O-Wisp was a way to slow down Mega Kangaskhan. And then obviously with Roost you had recovery, so you could just leave it on the field. But then again, there also is another Charizard set where you can just go full on Dragon Dance and then just make it just a sweeper. You get up one Dragon Dance and then you could just blow up a team. And then the thing also is like Fire Dragon, I would argue, is definitely a better type than Fire Flying. Just the one thing that is a little tough for Charizard X is that it doesn't have as good of a stat distribution as Charizard Y, I would argue. And even though Tough Claws is a good ability, it's just not as good as Drought. But it still is a solid Pokemon. Like, it really has a nice defensive typing. So, yeah, like, if you are looking for an alternative option, it's really good. And especially good in closed team sheet formats where people would assume you probably have Charizard Y because it is the stronger of the two.
And I think one of the cool things as well about its typing is like you can use the flying type like defensively as well, where like, you know, say you're up against something like a Groundmon, right? You can like click Dragon Dance in base form and then like, you know, then you can Mega, which I do think is interesting. And as you mentioned, Tough Claws is essentially like a Life Orb boost, so it is like a 1.3 times boost to the attack. So you think about that on top of a Flare Blitz, all of a sudden that makes Flare Blitz like 160 base power before Stab, and then like all of a sudden it's like 240 base power, which is kind of absurd. Like that's a lot of damage.
Oh yeah.
But look, I think we can agree this, and this is probably S tier. Like I just don't see where it's like never good. Like maybe in like a restricted format without Gmax, it maybe drops off a little, but like even then, I think just having a Sunsetter, like especially with how many Pokemon abuse Sun these days, I think it's like really good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We move on to Blastoise. I think we can probably agree this one is a bit more niche than the other two Kalos starters. Obviously it did get Shell Smash in the past generation, which I think is like one of the big things going for it. But I guess, yeah, like what are your thoughts on Mr. Blastoise here?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty niche. Like Blastoise has had moments in time where it has been good, but it's been for a very short-lived period. Like it does get access to some pretty nice moves like Shell Smash, like you mentioned, and also like Fake Out. But obviously, you know, it's not as good of a Fake Out user as things like Incin or Kangaskhan. But that, again, like it also is heavily dependent on whether it will get its Gigantamax form. Also, Mega Blastoise, like it was fine when it was used. Like I remember back a long time ago, people were using it, and I think it got access to Water Spout, and they would put it typically next to Raichu, just to get rid of one of its weaknesses being electric. With that being said, like, I don't know, I think Charizard's going to be really popular, and Charizard directly actually beats Blastoise, which sounds crazy because Blastoise is a water type, but keep in mind Charizard Y not only is setting up the Sun with Drought, but also it does get access to Solar Beam.
Yeah,
so
we did forget to mention that
blow
too,
up.
yeah.
So it could actually blow up Blastoise, and I think a lot of this format is going to revolve around, like, Charizard and, like, a few other Megas as well, like Kangaskhan and so on and so forth, but with Charizard being so common, I think it's really going to knock down Blastoise a lot. And then once you add into the mix, like, the fact that I haven't seen any really prominent rain setters with the Pokemon available, like, that also does hurt Blastoise a little bit as well.
Yeah, and look, when it comes to the rain, obviously at this stage we don't know. Like if you have a look at the list, like we've got like it's like 50 to 60 Pokemon that have been revealed. I would assume when the launch of the game comes, the decks will probably be around like 300-ish. Obviously, a lot of these Pokemon do have like base, like, you know, little forms. So like this might be half the decks that we're looking at here. But, you know, do we get another Rain Setter? Like, honestly, we don't know. And I do think that will definitely play a role because, like, I could see a world where, like, maybe Mega Blastoise with, like, Shell Smash, you know, even just, like, Shell Smash Water Pulse in Rain is kind of crazy. But I do think, yeah, like, even, like, having access to Water Spout's good. As you mentioned, it's it's Gmax definitely makes it a bit better. Gmax, Hydro, whatever it is, Hydro Cannon. No, it's not Hydro Cannon. What is it?
It's something.
Yeah,
It's basically the
it's
Gmax
the same as the other two.
Like the
Yeah.
water one is
Yeah.
as fire. Like
Yeah, it's the same as Charizard and Venusaur. I don't think there's that much to say. I think this one's stat spread honestly hurts it a lot. Like its lack of offense compared to the other two is really bad. Like at least Venusaur still has like base 100 special attack. This guy, he's just slow. He kind of wishes his HP was a bit higher, I think. Like I don't know. I think its stats are bad. It's kind of wishes it had a second type. Like maybe it was like Water Steel, but I think for now I'm happy to put it in the niche tier. Like it's definitely a mon where if it gets the right tools and the right format, I could actually see it being pretty solid. But I do think it probably needs a buff more so than the other two. The other two are just good as it is, where I think Blastoise, like, it may need, like, a stat buff or something like that in order for it to actually be, like, half decent.
yeah, either that or, like, if they add Pellet or something to the game, then maybe it can move up to B tier. But right now, I do agree. I think it is pretty niche.
Alright, now look, Pikachu has been shown. We did briefly discuss this before. I think we agree Pikachu's probably only good if its Gmax is available, right? Like, I don't think base Pikachu's really doing much.
Yeah, so I would say base Pikachu, like, obviously, if you have the option of Pikachu or Raichu, you're going to choose Raichu most of the time. The only way that Pikachu could even be maybe not even like relevant, but at least somewhat usable or manageable is if it does get its Gigantamax form, which we obviously don't know if like that's going to be the case or not. You could run it with a Light Ball just to kind of increase its damage. And then the nice thing about its Gmax move is, if I remember correctly, it was a few years ago, so I might get this wrong. I think it paralyzes everything on the field when you hit the move.
Hits both, right?
Yeah, and paralysis is one of the best status conditions because, you know, even if you get 1 or 2 paralyses on your opponent, that is 2 turns or 1 turn where they essentially don't move or do any damage. So for like, if you're trying to like cheese someone, I think it could actually be kind of funny, but yeah, it's definitely like not going to be amazing unless it gets like, well, even then it's not going to be amazing, but it could be usable again if it does get its Gmax.
Did it get a Z move? Like, because I know Eevee had a Z move. Did this thing get a Z move too?
I think it did. I can't really remember off the top of my head. But even then, like, its Z move, when you start comparing it to some of the others that were available, it just wasn't as strong. If I remember correctly. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Apparently there is a Pikinium Z 10 million volt Thunderbolt. But it looks like...
yeah, that's what it was.
It looks like it's just a really strong Thunderbolt. It doesn't actually look like it has anything, like, added to it. Am I wrong?
Yeah, so...
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it's just like the anime or something as well. Like, a lot of this is referencing... Yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, I think like I think it's probably not good. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, well,
I think
let's
if Pikachu is your favorite Pokemon, like I actually do think you could use it. Like as we mentioned before, I think there was like that one Pikachu that did like really well in an event, but like it's realistically speaking, it's like you're not using it if you're trying to like win a tournament.
Yeah, and then like just to give people a little bit of history on it, like I think Pikachu, and I was telling it to you earlier. There was a regional back in 2016 where I think it got like 4th place. I think it was Orlando Regionals with Ashton Cox. I think he was using it. And then there was one point in time where there was this really popular Wailord team back in 2017 where it was Wailord with Water Spout. And that team actually did feature Pikachu on it. And people would just like switch in their Pikachu because the thing is, instead of like they couldn't use Raichu for that format because the only Raichu that was available was the Alola form, which didn't get access to Lightning Rod. So people would use Pikachu on that team to switch in to absorb like Thunderbolts from Tapu Koko. So that team was pretty funny. I think someone broke like 1900 on ladder with it. But yeah,
That's
it's like
crazy.
really, it really like I don't think it's gonna be that great. Like I don't think it's gonna reach the same heights, especially with how strong some of the stuff is now.
And look, I think one of the things that you kind of mentioned like a little earlier is with Pikachu, like I think the issue Pikachu has is Raichu does everything it does, but I think just a lot better. like, because like
Oh
the thing
yeah,
too is
it
like this is
definitely
going to
does.
be the best Raichu has ever been. Like I think we can comfortably agree. Like this is if Raichu is ever gonna dominate a format, it's like right now.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is like Raichu, when I was looking at the list, I didn't see many other electric types that could kind of compete with it. Like if you
Emolga.
scroll through, I think it was the only
It's
yeah,
just
I mean
Emolga.
you got Amolga.
What do you mean? Did Motor
I mean,
Drive Emolga? You're not a
ooh, yeah.
believer?
I mean it has the same type as Thundurus, so it's basically Thundurus, but
Exactly.
but
Just without the
yeah,
stats.
like Raichu, I mean, Lightning Rod is a pretty good ability, but all in all, like the fact that it did get Megas, I think is going to help it just greatly. And it does actually pair like pretty well with some of the Pokemon that were revealed. Like it pairs nicely with Charizard Y. It pairs well with like Dondozo Geary and things such as that. But even if you don't want to use the Mega and you want to use more of a supportive set with like Nuzzle and Fake Out and so on and so forth, that's also viable as well. It really kind of depends on what you're comfortable with and what your team may need. So yeah.
Yeah, look, and I think the thing with Raichu that I think is going to be really interesting is I think if either of the Raichu Megas are really good, I think it just inherently makes base Raichu better. As you mentioned, obviously there are going to be things like Charizard Y being an incredibly good Pokemon, right? So one of the things is if Charizard Y is like obviously really good, but also the Raichu forms are really good. We already know both Raichu forms outspeed Charizard Y, right? So then maybe that's where you do see something like a base form Raichu just to support those teams, right? Fast Fake Out, it's a natural Lightning Rod mon. It has things like Endeavor, Nuzzle, all that kind of stuff. So it definitely has a good niche there. There's also my goat, Mega Sceptile, who I will do my best to use if he's legal. And I think just clicking Discharge next to it is going to be fun. So if it is the fastest Discharge mon in the game, there is a niche there. But I do think its Megas are going to be where it shines. Obviously, sadly, at this point, we don't really know much about them outside of their stats. Raichu X, it does look kind of crazy. This guy is going to definitely be a Volt Tackler, that's for sure. Like having that 135 base base attack is pretty good. The 110 base speed is probably a little lackluster in the format, but we will have to wait and see. Its bulk is honestly not bad for a Raichu. But the big thing we need to, I guess, figure out with Raichu X is if it keeps the way Volt Tackle worked in ZA. Are you familiar with how that worked, out of curiosity?
So I'm going to be honest, I did not play much
Yeah,
of ZA, so I'm not 100%
I didn't
sure.
think that was the case. So the way it worked was in Legends ZA, if a Raichu X, it only worked with the X one, if it clicked Volt Tackle, it got +1 attack. So if this guy can click Volt Tackle and get a +1, that does seem very, very scary, especially because it does have like decent bulk. Like you would probably have to max out its HP and support it well. But this thing with some like, some good support, I could see being an absolute menace. And again, it all depends what its ability is. Maybe its ability just is like, hey, if you click Volt Tackle, you get +1 attack. Because there was a lot of Pokemon where their abilities were built in. Like, mons like Mimikyu and stuff like that still had its disguise. So I think if Raichu X clicks Volt Tackle and gets +1 attack, this one might actually be really scary. Like, when you look at how high its attack stat goes, like a 120 base power attack coming off a potential +1 with this, I think is kind of busted.
Yeah, and
but,
also, sorry for interrupting you. You go.
No, I was just gonna say, but like that's obviously purely speculation, right? Like we're assuming that's how it might work. If it doesn't, then I do think it gets a bit dicey for it.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, like, if that is true where it does use Volt Tackle and it's getting +1, it's also good because it offsets Incineroar's Intimidate. So there's that as well. And then the other thing is, since it is a faster Fake Out user than Incin, it could actually kind of maybe keep it at bay. And the other thing that's also added on top of that is if it does get the +1, you probably don't even have to run like that much attack investment.
Yeah.
Like you could actually distribute the EVs where you can maybe make it outspeed Charizard Y by a point and then do the rest in bulk. So like it actually does offer a lot of options for it, I would say. But yeah, I did not like that. Actually changes my whole perception of what I was thinking about Raichu.
And look, this one, unfortunately, it like as I was just looking at there, it doesn't really have the best physical moves. Like when you look at it, it's like its coverage is like Iron Tail, Play Rough, like Brick Break, right? It's not very good, but it does have some great utility, right? It has Fake Out, which I still think you could run Fake Out on. It has Upper Hand, it has Knockoff. Like this mon does have some stuff. Even something like Nuzzle, I think, like as like a, you know, a potential like fourth move, right? Because you probably would run something like this with like, you know, whatever you want in the last slot, whether that be Knock, Nuzzle, probably really format dependent. But I do think you're right in the sense that like something like this, like theoretically, could actually be half decent, right? Where it's like you're really bulky, as you said, you outspeed Charizard by 1 point, and then if you can just start clicking Volt Tackles, this guy could like actually be really scary.
Yeah, definitely.
But then I think the star of the show though is Raichu White. Again, there's a lot of speculation on about like what this guy's ability will be. I am of the belief that I do think that when, you know, the mega abilities get revealed, there will be a weather and a terrain on at least one of all the megas, right? So I think if we do get electric terrain on a mega, this is definitely the mon to do it. But its stats are just absurd. Like 160 special attack on a Pokemon that has Nasty Plot is really stupid. And then also having 130 speed does put it in like, you know, that echelon of like one of the fastest Pokemon in the game. Like you look here, like if it's got 130, there's not many Pokemon that outspeed it, right? Especially in a like a non-restricted format, right? You've got Dragapult, and that's kind of it. Like Barraskewda's not seeing any play, let's be real. Jolteon's not really seeing any play. Yeah, like there's not many Pokemon that outspeed this thing that are actually like strong. Obviously this doesn't actually involve all the megas, I've just realized, but yeah, I think this mon's probably going to be really good, and its special coverage is like way better than its physical.
Yeah, so I think it gets, yeah, like Grass Knot's like a pretty nice niche move, just because that is dependent on the weight of Pokemon. And it could maybe be like a nice way to catch off guard like people that are running Ursaluna, like you just use it to get it
Probably
after you do like
it,
chip.
yeah.
Yeah, like definitely do some damage. I wouldn't run Focus Blast just because, you know, you could miss a lot.
Yeah,
But
no, I wouldn't
Electro Web's
either.
also a nice move. Volt Switch is nice for pivoting. I mean, it's got some like really nice nice moves on it.
Yeah, I think it even has more too, because this doesn't include like most of the new stuff it got in ZA. Like what decks am I on here? I mean, anything goes. If I go like ZA pet mod here and like change this, because I think it got a lot of moves like Nasty Plot and stuff like that as well. Let's have a look. Does it change it much? Yeah, so it gets like Surf, T-Bolt, Luring Voice, Discharge, Terrabal's Dazzling Gleam, Signal Beam, Rising Voltage. Dude, maybe I should have been on this for some of the other ones, but yeah, this one, like, again, it's Pikachu, right? It's a Gen 1 Pokemon. They typically do have just the best stats. But yeah, like even Rising Voltage, like if this thing was to get electric terrain, Rising Voltage off this Pokemon would be, I think, absurd. Obviously the one thing holding it back is its bulk. Its bulk is very low, so this is going to be a Pokemon that needs a lot of support. But with a special attack stat this high, you know, as we mentioned earlier, you don't have to invest in this. You can just make this thing modest and literally invest into its other stats, and this Pokemon is still going to be an absolute demon.
Yeah, and then another thing is, it's like just thinking about it, because I also saw Gyarados was available. Like you can pair it with that, just because not only the Lightning Rod protects Gyarados, but Gyarados does get access to Intimidate, so hopefully help a little bit with that bulk. So like I could see that also being kind of a nice pairing if you want to do that.
Yeah, very true. And I guess as well, just to like add to it before we move off it, it does have Lightning Rod in its base form, so if you are like able to activate it, you could go for something like, you know, let's just say like Fake Out T-Bolt. And it's just like, you know, Raichu fakes something out, its ally activates its Lightning Rod, it gets +1 special attack, and then you Mega, and then you start doing some stuff. So, yeah, I think this mon's going to be pretty good. Obviously, this is a lot of speculation, because Raichu historically has never been the best mon. But I think its Megas potentially change it. Like, where do you think it's going to go? Like, part of me wants to say B tier for now, but I could definitely seeing it be like A or even S tier.
Yeah, like I would say B tier for now. I definitely think if what the speculation we're saying is true, then it moves up to A. Just because Raichu, like the last time it really was kind of good was back in like 2015, 2016.
Yeah,
like
when
2015 it
Wolf
won
used
Korean. Yeah, like it won Worlds in 2016. It won Korean Nationals back in 2015. And then I think in like, well, actually 2018, I kind of totally forgot about that. It got like top 8 at a international event, but that was kind of more so as like a counteraction to Tapu Koko at the time. But yeah, like we haven't really seen it like be all that good in a while. So if its megas are really solid, and it's like not a crazy thing to assume, because you know it is kind of one of the face Pokemon of the franchise, they're gonna probably try to make it busted.
Yeah, I agree.
It definitely could move up to A. But yeah.
Yeah, speaking of it being busted, I think that's why I do think they're just going to give this guy Electric Surge, because it's like, I think they want Raichu to be good, and if they make it a terrain setter with those stats, like you compare this special attack stat, for example, to Coco, right? It's like, Coco has like 115 and 95. This guy just straight up has 160. Like, as a special attacker,
just, like, blows Coco
it's
out of
not
the water.
comparable, man. So, yeah, I'm happy
and
to
the
keep
crazy
it in the
thing
B tier, I
was,
think.
Yeah, and the crazy thing was, like, Tapu Koko back in the day was run as a special attacker just because the multipliers by Electric Terrain were so crazy that even then, like, as a special attacker with using its lower attacking stat, it still did, like, a lot of damage, and it even won Worlds in 2018 using it. But once you have a Pokemon with 160 special attack, I mean, that's crazy.
I mean, it also has the same speed tier as Coco as well, which is crazy. And it also, you know, what's also even crazier? It gets play rough and Coco doesn't. So,
oh, dude, poor Coco kind of got you know, screwed in that regard.
But look, you know what? I think I'm going to put this in A tier. Again, I feel like this is going to be the Pokemon on this list that is the most speculation. But again, I'm just putting my faith in them making Raichu's Megas broken, especially the Y one that kind of looks like Pikachu as it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll move on to Gengar now. This is a pretty, I don't want to say controversial, but I've seen a lot of people have really different takes on this. I've seen people say it is going to drop off a cliff. I've seen other people saying it is going to just straight up be the best Mega in the game. I've seen people talk about the fact that, oh, Fluttermane exists, so it can't be good. But then it's like, if you look at the Fluttermane sets we've had recently, Mega Gengar is like, it is so much easier to like bulk up Mega Gengar. Like you can make Mega Gengar as bulky as these speed booster sets we've seen, still add speed, you know, things like Tornadus, Ogerpon and whatnot, and then have like 40 more points in its special attack stat, which is kind of absurd. I guess, what are your thoughts on this menace with Shadow Tag?
So with Gengar, I think a lot of its success is going to be very, very dependent on what's available in the format. Like, if things such as Fluttermane, Golden Go, even the ruinous Pokemon like Chi-Yu and Chen-Pao aren't available, then Gengar's good. But if those Pokemon are obviously in the game, then Gengar, I do think, is going to kind of drop a little bit. Like, it still can have a use here and there just because it is unique in the sense that it is the only Shadow Tag user in the game that also gets access to Perish Song. But the thing about Perish Song and Perish Trap teams is that they are hard to run if you don't have the experience with it.
If you want Wolf Glitch,
so yeah, so that's the thing about Gengar. Like, it's so heavily dependent on just what's available. But also, like, the fact that we do know Incineroar's in the game, like, that doesn't really help it too, because not only does Incineroar have super effective moves in it, being dark type moves, but then you also add on top of that just the fact that, like, Incin could pivot out with U-turn or Parting Shot. Obviously, Gengar can run Taunt, but, you know, we have seen Incineroar move back to the Assault Vest set with U-turn. So just, I don't know, like, it's so dependent on if Flutter, Chi-Yu, Chen-Pao, and Golden Go are in the game. And also Urshifu as well.
I agree, and, like, I have seen the arguments both ways, where it's like, you know, we talk about things like, you know, potentially a Choice Scarf Chi-Yu just checks this one. I do know that Gengar can actually live a Shadow Ball off a Fluttermane, and then, like, obviously fire back and potentially KO it. But, and then obviously, you know, things like Urshifu, right? It's like, you know, it's like you're trapped in here with me type thing, not the other way around. But I've also seen people talk about it in the other sense where, like, it's like, well, yeah, like, these Pokemon are really good into Gengar, but you could also trap for an Urshifu, right? Like, we've never had that before where you've had a good Shadow Tagmon paired up with Urshifu, where it's all of a sudden, it's like, Gengar's now trapped you in here with the Urshifu, right? So it's gonna be very interesting, right? Because, again, I think in the lower power formats, it's going to be like a strong special attacker, where maybe as the power level gets higher, it becomes more of a support, where its role is to, you know, trap things in for a Pokemon like Urshifu, for example, right? Where maybe you lead like something like Gengar Incin, you protect Parting Shot, all of a sudden now your Urshifu's on the board, they can't switch out, right? So, I definitely think, as you said, it's probably going to be format dependent. I do think it relies heavily on its Mega. I think if its Mega is not legal, I don't think base Gengar's really good unless it's like a super, super low power format. But how do you feel about putting it in the A tier? Like, I feel like it's gonna dominate the formats where it's good, and it's probably gonna be average in the formats where it's not.
Yeah, I would say for now, just based on the stuff that we see that is available, like I don't see any of the Pokemon I mentioned before. So for now, I would put it in A tier. But obviously, as you know, time goes by and we find out what else is added. If any of those things are added, then I would probably move it down to like B or C.
Yeah.
Well, actually, maybe C is a little too far down,
Yeah.
but
I
definitely
was gonna
B.
say. I think C
Yeah,
is too
I
low.
rethought.
But yeah.
Yeah, I rethought about that. I'm like, it
Yeah.
can't be in the same tier as
Yeah.
Blastoise. That would be crazy.
I think I think that's probably the best way to put it, because again, like if you look at the format we have right now with these Pokemon, I think it's S tier, right? It like looking at this like specific decks, I think it is going to dominate it. But as you said, the second like Flutter, Chi-Yu, Chien-Pao, Golden come back, maybe it like becomes B tier, right? Where it's like it's still niche, like, you know, again, like trapping something for a Flutter main also isn't bad, right? Where it's like, okay, you're stuck here with a Choice Specs Flutter main and a Gengar. Like there's very few Pokemon are going to be able to eat that double up. But yeah, I think for now I'm happy with putting it in the A tier. But I guess we move on to another potential meta warping Pokemon here in Mega Kangaskhan. You were around for the glory days of Mega Kang. Do you want to give us a bit of a spiel on this this bad boy?
Oh my god, this thing was like, it was just a terror to deal with. So like, obviously Mega Kangaskhan was introduced back in the 2014 format, and like I'll never forget, people were running entire teams that were just meant to specifically counter it. And even with that being the case, it still would go and like win events. And then in 2015, it just somehow got even stronger with, you know, even better Pokemon added to the format. Like I remember people back in 2014 were running double steel types. You know, they were running like Mawile and Aegislash on the team to hopefully slow it down, and it still is really strong. Like it just warped the meta so much that people started throwing Rocky Helmet on just random things. People started running double Intimidate, but then, you know, Kangaskhan teams kind of adapted where they started running Defiant users like Bisharp. Obviously now we have access to Kingambit, but Bisharp was used back in the day. Yeah, and even after they nerfed it going into the 2018 format where they made its parental bond not as strong, it still managed to get second at Worlds in 2019. So, like,
Yeah.
even with the nerfs, it still is one of the best megas out there. And the fact that it is also just a pure normal type, making it only weak to fighting, actually does help it a bit. The only thing that, you know, maybe can not necessarily hold it back, but the only thing that might be a little difficult for it is now it is competing against other really strong normal types in the game, like Ursaluna. And also, if Urshifu's in the format, that can be an issue for it as well.
Yeah. One thing I do want to mention as well that has changed since the last time Kang was legal, at least Mega Kang, its ability to Scrappy and Inner Focus both got buffed. So, like, as you mentioned, people would run double Intimidate for this Pokemon in the past. Now you can't do that. I mean, you can, but, like, it has Scrappy buff and it has In Focus buff, right? So, I think this also just adds another layer to this bond, right? Where, again, you know, we looked at the set, it has Fake Out, right? So, with a Scrappy Fake Out, you can fake out things like a Flutter Mane on lead, for example, right? You can fake out a Goldhanger, you can fake out a Mega Gengar, right? So, stuff like that, I think, like, these little buffs are going to go a long way, and I do think it is going to make the way this Pokemon plays very interesting. But yeah, as you said, like, this Pokemon, it's a pure normal type, so it only has one weakness. Its stats are absurd. Like, 105, 100, 100 bulk is, like, very, very good. 100 speed is, like, solid, obviously. And, like, the 125 attack, while it doesn't seem great, obviously, Parental Bond kind of makes up for that, right? It technically gives it, like, a 25% boost in power. Which also, you know, again, part of the reason why Mega Kang is so broken is it works with all of its, you know, the moves it uses, right? So, like, for example, Power Up Punch, which it did get back in ZA. This is essentially Swords Dance with, like, damage, right? Bite has two different 30% chances to flinch. I'm pretty sure when you do two 30% chances, it comes to 51% chance. So, like, the chances of you clicking a Bite and flinching your opponent are 51%, which is kind of crazy. Then again, you talk about a move like Double Edge. Yes, it does a ridiculous amount of damage, but you get an extra 25% damage on a Double Edge. Like, what is that? That'd be like, what, 30 power? So, like, all of a sudden it technically makes, like, Mega Kang's Double Edge, like, 150 base power plus stab. Yeah, this mon, I think it's a stat monster. It has, like, even moves like Sucker Punch, right? Like, it has some really, really good physical moves it can run. I'm torn on where I want to put this. I personally think it's A tier, but, like, if you told me it was S, I would happily move it up there, I think.
Yeah, me personally, I would say it's still probably S even after the nerfs, just because its abilities before it megas have been buffed. And then when you add on top of that, like, there are, like obviously it's always going to probably have fake out, but there are variations of Kangaskhan that we have seen that have been very successful. Like obviously there were some Kangaskhan sets that didn't use Power Up Punch and used Low Kick instead just to have immediate damage. You had other sets that when they did run Power Up Punch, they would actually run Return or Frustration instead on it because they wouldn't need Double Edge to do the recoil because you got the +2. I remember there was like a point in time where people were running no fake out on Kangaskhan. They actually just did Protect. And they would just like, protect, scout out first turn, and then, proceed with the game on from there. So it's just like, it's so good. Even with the nerf to Parental Bond, it's just like, it was the mega for a long stretch of time. And even now, like, I would still say it's probably a top 3 returning mega, not including any of the new ones. So yeah, like that's what 3? I feel about it.
I think I would say top 5. I don't think I have it top 3, but we can kind of get to that later, I guess. But look, I agree. I think the monster stat stick, it's I think if it like loses some of its moves, like if it loses Power Up Punch, then maybe my opinion on it changes a little bit. But yeah, I'm
like,
happy
I would
to
say
like,
then it moves down.
Yeah, because I think that's kind of what I'm like holding off on. Because I do know when Legends Arceus came out, it gave Pokemon a bunch of moves. Those Pokemon then lost them when Generation 9 came around. So while it did get Power Up Punch back, I would not be surprised if it lost it going into Champions. But again, I think until that is actually confirmed, I'm happy to leave it in the S tier.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll move on to Mega Starmie. Now, are you familiar with what ability people believe Mega Starmie will have?
I am actually not 100% sure.
So, in Legends Arceus, the Pokemon like Mega Mawile and like Medicham, because they lost or because they didn't have abilities, what they did in that game was they gave them an extra 40 base power to their physical attack stat, right? Because they lost their huge power, their pure power. Starmie's Mega in Pokemon Legends Arceus, Legends EA, God, 3 times in a row, I missed that up there. It had 140 base attack. They gave it 140 base stat total. So because of that, the firm belief is that Mega Starmie actually has huge power or pure power. Everyone essentially believes that is confirmed at this point, that pure power or huge power is the ability this Pokemon will get. I will briefly just touch on base form Starmie. I don't think this thing does anything in modern Pokemon. Like, I feel like you would agree with that, correct?
Oh yeah, no, definitely not.
It doesn't have the stats. But Mega Starmie, on the other hand, is very interesting because it actually does get a lot of bulk. It has 105 in both its defenses, gets a little speed buff up to 120, special attack goes to 130, which is still really respectable. But yeah, the big question is going to be if this base 100 attack is pure power or not. Because again, if this is true, this thing gets over 300 attack. We know it has access to Flip Turn, right? I don't know. I don't think it got Wave Crash, did it? It did not get Wave Crash, but I'm pretty sure it got Liquidation, right? It gets Aqua Jet. I don't think it got Psychic Fangs. Yeah, it didn't. So it does get Psychic Cut. It also gets Zen Headbutt. This is another one of those mons where I think this is just going to be a lot of speculation going into this. I guess, do you have any thoughts on the potential of a pure power Mega Starmie?
Oh, man. Like, I think even if it doesn't get pure power, like, it still will probably be okay. But if it does, I do think that does kind of shoot it up on my list a little bit. The only thing, not that it holds it back, but the only thing that could be a little bit awkward is that it will be competing with things like Palafin. Just because Palafin, obviously, with like 0 to Hero, when it changes to that other form, it does become really strong. So it is competing with another physical water type attacker in the format. But again, like, just being able to kind of nuke stuff immediately with pure power, like Zen Headbutts or Liquidation, I mean, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and look, I think one thing as well I think worth mentioning is this one still does have base 130 special attack. I think this thing is probably also still a really good special attacker. Like, it has a very good speed stat, a very solid special attack stat. It gets things like Expanding Force, Scald, Ice Beam. Like, again, I think it has to be format dependent. Like, I don't think it's gonna be amazing. Like, I actually want to put it somewhere between B and A. I kind of lean towards B because, again, I think you're right. Like, a pure power like Liquidation off this thing is going to slap. That's a lot of damage. Like, again, like, you look at this attack stat, if you go Adamant, Hitting 167 is very, very high. So yeah, like, cause what's that become? That would become 334, which is like stronger than Guts Ursaluna when you think about it. Like Guts Ursaluna hits like 30 something. This has like 30 more base power than that. I think if it got Wave Crash, then all of a sudden, like, if I found out it got Wave Crash, I think it automatically becomes A tier, like maybe even S tier. Because again, like we're talking about Ursaluna's attack stat on 120 base speed, which is kind of absurd. Even if you run Jolly, right? If you run Jolly, you have like the exact same attack stat. It's just you hit 189 speed. It also could pair with Rain as well. Like that's another big thing. Like again, imagine this thing here clicking like a Wave Crash potentially in Rain, like that, or even a Flip Turn in Rain. Like that's still doing a lot of
dude.
damage.
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
That is gonna hurt.
I guess yeah. Where do you feel this guy sits? Because I'm kind of all over the shop with it, I think.
I mean, I'm really teetering on A or B. Like if it gets pure power, then probably A. But that is speculation. Starmie, based on, I guess, like we have to kind of look at the history of it. Based on its historical standings, I probably will put it in B for now. But again, if it gets pure power, then it shoots up to A, especially when it gets pure power and if it also gets Wave Crash, because that would be just crazy.
Well, I will say it doesn't have Wave Crash currently, but it does have Liquidation, which is still very good. Like a Liquidation in Rain with pure power is still going to absolutely nuke things. But look, I think I agree, because like I think my biggest thing with Starmie right now is, again, a lot of people think it's going to get pure power. It makes a lot of sense just because of how they did the stats. But for me, it feels weird saying it's as good as Gengar without knowing more.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I think I'm happy to leave it there. A pretty sad one here, Pinsir. Pinsir, I think you would agree, it's not worth talking about this guy's base form. Its base form is just bad. Its mega form in theory is cool. Like I remember playing this thing in like the showdown, like OU back in the day with like things like Swords Dance Quick Attack. But I just don't think it does anything in VG, right? Like its bulk is like average. Its speed stat's just too low. And like, does it get like Double Edge? I mean, it gets Double Edge, which does slap, but it's like, in my opinion, right? If Mega Salamence is banned, maybe Homeboy has a shot. Because I think I just want to check. I was gonna say it does get Hyper Cutter, so like you can like not be intimidated. You can like also run Moxie, which is kind of probably not gonna happen. But I just don't see why you would ever run this thing in a format where Salamence exists. Like base form Salamence is just far better. Its Double Edge is technically weaker, but like it also has things like Hyper Voice as well. Has Draco, so
yeah.
I don't think there's much to say. Like, have you ever seen this thing do anything in VG?
Honestly, no. Like the other thing about it is that its typing is just like so bad. And the thing is, typically, like if you have these Pokemon that have like pretty decent stats, because like when you look at it, like it has high attack, pretty decent speed, okay defense. Well, not okay, great defense actually. I was thinking more special defense.
HP definitely lets it down for like moves like
its HP is not good. But the thing is, like, you can have these Pokemon with really good stats, but if their typing is really bad, like, it just is such a huge hindrance because then everything is basically hitting you for super effective. Like, I think that was the biggest issue with this current generation with, like, Wo-Chien, because, you know, like, it actually had a great ability, great stats across the board, but Dark Grass is just such a horrible typing that it really held it back. And I feel like Pinsir kind of falls into, like, that same category where it has decent stats, but the type is just so awful.
Yeah, and like on top of that too, it also just doesn't have a good bug move. Like Lunge is its best bug move. This guy does not get access to like Mega Horn, for example. So like you're probably running like normal plus ground, which is like pretty bad, right? Because you want a way to hit a steel type with this guy, so you probably have to run Earthquake. Like you definitely don't get high. It actually gets high horsepower. So, like, I don't know, like, maybe something like this. But, like, again, this feels weird because it's like, this is VGC. You've got very low HP. You probably want Protect. You want Double Edge. You probably want your Priority Attack. You want a way to hit Steel types. Yeah, like, I'm going to say niche. Like, I think, like, if you wanted to, like, run this one, you could. It's just probably not going to be very good.
Yeah, I would agree.
Anyway, we'll move on to Gyarados. We kind of spoke about Gyarados earlier, just because it does have like a really, really good pairing with Raichu. I do think in its base form, Gyarados is like probably also one of the best Pokemon we've actually spoken about today. Like, I feel like when you look at our list, it's like, do they have Mega? It's like, yes. um, it's like literally like the top 7 Pokemon so far are all like Megas, but I think Gyarados is a mon that's cool because like it functions as like both a Mega and as a standalone Pokemon.
Yeah. So like it's mega like Water Dark. It's not bad, but it's also not great. But its base form is really nice just because you do get access to Intimidate, which is obviously one of, if not the best ability in the game. And when you look at its stat distribution, it's actually pretty good.
Really
Like its
good.
speed is kind of
Really good.
middling, but it has nice HP, nice special defense. Its defense is kind of low, but again, like it's made up with the Intimidate
Intimidate.
ability, and it has access to things like Waterfall for flinch, Thunder Wave. It has good attack. Um, the other thing is like obviously I know it's a very very long time ago, but it did actually win Worlds back in 2014 in a format where no one even had it on the radar for winning Worlds. And the other thing about Gyarados is you can run multiple sets. Like you could run like Dragon Dance and use it as like a setup sweeper. You could use it as, you know, very much supportive with the Thunder Wave and so on and so forth. I would say out of the megas that we've seen so far, it, like you said, it just by far has the best base form, and it can actually function not as a mega and like, you know, as something to switch in with Intimidate and so on and so forth. Which, you know, is kind of, I don't want to say unique, but it's definitely, it definitely does help it, right? Like that's what I think also made stuff like Mega Salamence so good, because, you know, its base form could function outside of the Mega.
Yeah, and look, I think I want, again, as you mentioned, like it's having a good base form, I think is really good, but Gyarados is also like notorious for being a good Pokemon in like lower power formats, just in base form. Like I'm sure you remember, but like there was that New Balance team with like Chi-Yu in like Reg C, I think it was. And
Oh
like
yeah,
Gyarados on that team was
yeah.
great. Like it literally just like ran a set like this one I have here on screen where it was like T-Wave, Waterfall, Taunt. It's like use the Taunt to stop the setup, use T-Wave for speed control, and then once you've T-Waved them, you just start waterfalling them, and it's like, oh, it's like you have like a 51% chance to flinch them. There's also then like there's like a 30% chance to flinch, 25% chance or whatever it is for like a full para. So then it's like you also cut their speed in half. Like I don't know. I think Gyarados like base form is really good. I don't know much about its Mega. I think as a water type, its Mega like probably has a lot of competition. Its bulk is really solid, and like as you mentioned, like I think this one with DD is like not bad because like again, you can like depending on the format, you can probably hit the speed stat you need, like run an Adamant Nature, run it with some bulk. Like I kind of want to go between A and B here. I guess what are your thoughts on it?
I would say overall, I would probably put it in B. Like, there is a potential for A, obviously, but the reason why I would put it in B is because it's so funny because its base form is stronger than the other Mega's base forms, but its Mega form, I
Megas,
would
yeah.
argue, is weaker than the other
Yeah,
Mega forms.
I agree.
And with it being such a Mega centralized format, like I do think that knocks it down a peg. Where if its Mega was even just like slightly better, like you could see it in A, but I would put it in B personally.
Yeah, no, look, I'm happy to leave it there. Like, because again, I think when you look at this, it's like there's no argument that Zard and Kang and even like Gengar are like all just better Megas. Obviously, it does have a pretty decent matchup into Mega Gengar in particular. But I think just in general, it's better. Like, it has a really bad matchup into Raichu. Again, base form is far better than Starmie's, which is kind of why I put it here at the top. But I think it's like the pinnacle of B tier, right? It's good in the right format. I could see formats where this is one of the, you know, top 5, top 10 Pokemon. I could also see formats where it just sees zero play. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty comfortable, I think, just putting it here in the old B tier. But the next one, this is actually another one that's probably pretty high on speculation, and that's Mega D-Knight, because, or D-Knight in general, because again, this is probably the first mon here where its base form actually might just straight up be better than Gyarados's, which is pretty funny. But we also have a new Mega that we don't really know that much about just yet. I guess, what are your thoughts on Mr. D-Knight here?
Yeah, so like I'm gonna let you speak to the Mega just because I don't think I know enough about it. But we obviously have seen Dragonite been really, really strong in Generation 9 with, you know, loaded dice and scale shot and so on and so forth. I think what also has made it a bit stronger going into this gen is not only like the rework of Inner Focus in recent years, but also the fact that it can terrasilize and get rid of all of its weaknesses and totally flip the board and also boost the power of things like extreme speed and so on and so forth. So I think it's actually going to be pretty good. like all in all, I think Dragonite is a solid Pokemon, and it's also proven in the fact that it has done well at Worlds. You know, the last 3 World Championships, like it's gotten top 8, I think, at every single World Championship
It's been
since
good in every
2023.
format, yeah.
Yeah, like it
And,
got like I think top 4, top 8, and then like I think it finished 8th in this most recent World Championship, or like 7th or something. But yeah, it's
yeah.
solid.
And look, that's the thing. Like base form, like D-Knight is like good, right? As you mentioned, right, we've seen stuff like Inner Focus. Like if there is a Terra format, Inner Focus banded D-Knight will never be bad. The loaded dice multi-scale stuff has also been really good. This Pokemon has also been like a really solid support. Like we know Dondozo's in the game. It is just straight up one of the best haze users in the game. Like its matchup into Dondozo is crazy with multi-scale. Like you can like just switch into its Wave Crash, its Earthquake, it doesn't matter. The only thing you probably don't want to switch into is like a like an Order Up, and then you eat a second Order Up. But like again, you have Haze, you have Tailwind. Like as a supporting of Peace, this Pokemon is like really, really good, I think. But then you also have its like Mega, which is like really interesting. I don't know if you saw, but it actually loses 10 points in its attack stat. It also then gains 20 in its special, into its speed. But the big one is the 45 into special attack. So it essentially does turn it into a special attacker. One thing I do think that is worth mentioning though, if we have like a look at this here, like you've got Jolly like Max versus Adamant Max. So Mega D-Knight with Adamant is actually still stronger and faster than Jolly Max base D-Knight, which is interesting because obviously, you know, base D-Knight has more attack, but I do think this is like something worth mentioning. In terms of its abilities, this one's like all over the shop. Like the one thing like they mention in this guy's dex entry is that he like rushes to his friends. So like some people have speculated that it's going to get like Friend Guard because it's like all about protecting its friends. I've seen a lot of other stuff. I've seen people throwing No Guard out there. I personally want to see it get Drizzle because I think having a Drizzlemon that isn't a water type is cool just because it has like access to Hurricane and like Thunder. But yeah, I don't think we get like assume much based on its ability, unfortunately, because it's like it really could be anything. But stat-wise, this guy's a beast, right? It's a really good mixed attacker. It has a very solid speed stat. Its bulk is crazy. It's like a Gen 1 Pokemon, so it's, you know, it also has extreme speed as well. Like, I've seen people talk about aerialate extreme speed, which I think is crazy. But its move pool is just absurd. Like, you look at its move pool, it's got every coverage move you could think of it has. It's got Draco, Blizzard, Fire Blast, Hurricane, Thunder, Heat Wave, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Surf, T-Bolt. Like, there is not, like, a move that this Pokemon doesn't have, which is kind of absurd. But yeah, I guess based on the stats, is there any opinions you have on this guy?
So I would say the stat distribution's a little weird because the thing is, in recent generations, they have kind of made Pokemon more specialized in certain areas, where this Dragonite, it looks like, I mean, it's not like even across the board, but it's even enough.
Yeah, very close
to where it's not like the best at anything, but it's also not the worst at anything. So like, yeah, like I feel like based on just what I'm seeing from the stats alone, I would argue maybe it might be better just to use regular form Dragonite over the Mega form, just because I think the gap between its base form and Mega form isn't as big as something like, you know, the gap between Charizard's base form and its Mega form, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that is one thing I have seen people throw around is the fact that, you know, maybe like the base form is better. One thing I did want to mention, because I think this is like kind of cool, is regular like D-Knight, right? He gets multi-scale. Yeah, everyone knows this. And when you pass like a Shed or like a Shed Tail or like a substitute to like a multi-scale Pokemon, it basically like it still functions, right? As long as the Pokemon's full HP. And Shed Tail is like half health. So like we have seen in the past, there was those like Garchomp D-Knight teams where you would Shed Tail to like a multi-scale D-Knight, and then essentially your substitute is like your Pokemon's full HP. So one of the things I have seen people theorize is something like you pass a Shed Tail to base D-Knight, click like a Dragon Dance in like base form, and then you can like Mega. And the reason like you would want to do that is because like, for example, the Calyrex speed tier is like really important. Like, I'm sure everyone knows that like if you're at +1 speed, then you want to hit at least 149 speed so you can outspeed things like Cali Shadow. And again, the reason that's like really important here is because you just can't do that with base D-Knight. Even with Jolly, like at +1, like if this guy clicks Dragon Dance, you just don't outspeed Calyrex Shadow Rider, which also means you don't outspeed things like Garchomp Z, Absol Z, and Lucario Z. But Mega D-Knight actually can with Adamant, which is like kind of interesting, right? So like you could run a set like this where you pass it to Shed Tail, click DD, and then Mega, which I do think is like a cool thing to add. But I do agree this one might just be better in its base form. I think A tier is probably pretty solid for this. And like potential S tier if it got a broken ability in its Mega, then like I think it could be like a legitimate S tier threat. But again, through like what Scarlet and Violet taught me is this Pokemon, it's very hard for D-Knight to just be bad.
Yeah, definitely.
Next guy here is Mega Gator. This is like probably a pretty hard one to talk about. I think you would agree, like Feraligatr as a Pokemon probably isn't great, right?
Yeah, it hasn't been, like, ever since I started playing, it hasn't been great then, and it hasn't been too great now, unfortunately. And it kills me because I actually do like
I love this monster
the alligator a lot, but it's just like it's just not as strong as the other stuff, man.
Yeah, like its stats are just bad. Like 78 speed, average bulk with like only 105 is like pretty average. Like sheer force, like life orb is cool, but realistically it's not great. But its Mega kind of does change things a little bit. Obviously, like the main speculation when you look at Mega Feraligatr here is it will get Strong Jaw. And if it does get Strong Jaw with like 160 base attack, like that's pretty strong, right? Any biting move off this thing will be crazy. The main issue with that is there is no dragon biting move, and there is only one water biting move. Out of curiosity, do you know what that water biting move is?
Is it Fishious Rend?
It is, and currently Gator does not get it, but I do have a little bit of hopium that Gator does one day get Fishious Rend, but that is just that's a Dracovish fan hoping for the best. But look, realistically speaking, Dragon Water is actually really good. Like I think that's like a buff to the water typing, like getting rid of your grass and your electric weakness, and then also like getting rid of the dragon typing's ice weakness is good. Obviously it gives you a weakness to fairy, which isn't great. But this Pokemon's stats are pretty good. It does get access to Dragon Dance as well, which I do think is like worth mentioning. Like with like a Jolly Nature, like this one does hit some like pretty decent numbers. Again, it's probably not seen play in a Calyrex format. But I guess, yeah, based on like the stats, like obviously without knowing the ability, it's a bit difficult, but like what are your thoughts on it just purely based on stats?
So the stats actually look pretty good. Like it's got very high attack. The one thing that could hold it back though is its speed is like not that good. So that's like the one thing that I think is concerning. But I mean, water dragons are really nice typing defensively and even offensively. And then even looking at its bulk, I mean, like 85 HP, 125 defense, and then 93 special defense. That's like pretty solid across the board. So I think like the way to probably run this, if someone does end up choosing it, is probably go maybe a little bit bulkier, just because you're going to get outspeed, just so you could take a hit and then maybe be able to KO something back.
Yeah, and look, I agree. Like, again, like this is just like a purely, like what I've thrown on screen, this is like just whatever, right? Like this is like a speed stat. It'll outspeed things like Timid Luna, it'll outspeed Adamant, Incin, stuff like that. But I do agree. I think like bulky, like does it also get like SD? Sword Dance. Okay, it also gets like Swords Dance too.
Yeah.
It gets like Swords Dance, it gets Jet. So like I could like maybe see a world where like this thing is like a water type on balance, especially when Shifu's not around. Like Gator could just like straight up become like the new partner for like Incineroar. Because again, like slapping a dragon type on those teams like isn't bad. Like on a fire water class in particular. But I would say with this guy, we kind of probably just need to know more, find out what its ability is. Like if it does get Strong Jaw and like no water biting move, it's probably not great. I don't know if you've seen, but like I've joked about this. If this mon does get Fishious Rend, I think it literally just becomes S tier. Like as a mon, it's like it's very hard to like eat a like a Fishious Rend off it right now. But yeah. I would go as far as saying niche. I don't think I can put it any higher than that. As things currently are. Do you think there's an argument to put it in B tier, or do you think C is probably where it needs to live?
I think like looking at it in general, I would say probably C. If it does get Fishious Rend, that would be like a huge thing for it, especially if it gets Strong Jaw. But then also the Gastrodon stocks will probably go up. So, but yeah, I would say niche for now.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I think there's a lot of potential there, but without knowing more, it's hard to, I guess, really go any further. Dude, we still have so many of these. We might even want to like speed this up a little bit because I feel like we've spent so long on this. Mega Scizor. Has this mon like I think on Rain it's probably like half decent, right? But has it really ever done anything?
Yeah, so it actually won an international back in 2018. I think it won in, oh man, was it Latin American Internats? I can't remember, but it was on a rain team. It was pretty good, but again, like the fact that there isn't a rain setter in the format does really hurt it. And also with Charizard and Instant being available, that also hurts it as well.
Yeah, true.
So right now, I'm not feeling too good about Scizor. If the Pelipper was around, I would feel a lot better, but I mean that's not really the case.
I guess is there like are there any like sets in particular you think that are good outside of like what I got here, which is just like SD Bullet Punch Bug Bite?
I mean, there was sets like back in 2013 when the gens were available, but obviously the gens aren't around anymore. So yeah, like I would just run like Bullet Punch, ST, and then you could either run Bug
It's your
Bite. I
U-turn
think
as
at
well.
one point in time it got access to knockoff, but I
It
might be
does get
totally wrong
knockoff.
on
No,
that.
it does get knockoff. Yeah.
Okay, it does.
It's not
Oh man, I
technician
can't believe I
boosted
remember
though.
that.
Worth noting. Not
Yeah, but it is a
technician
nice
boosted
utility move.
Yeah.
So,
It also gets things
but
like dual
yeah.
wing beat and whatnot right now. I think like I almost kind of want to say it's a niche. Do you think it's like worthy of the B tier or no?
Like if it's gonna be B tier, it'll be like the very bottom of it, just because of what's in the format.
Yeah.
And if it is niche, then it'll probably be at like the top of the niche
Yeah.
tier,
Because
I
I
would
think it's
say.
definitely better than the three we have here. I just don't think it's as good as the three above it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think yeah, that's honestly probably a pretty good spot to put it. Dude, this one pains me. My goat Heracross. It does it even hit niche? Like real
No,
talk.
no,
Like
unfortunately.
it's just like unfortunately, like I love base form Heracross more than I like the Mega for Heracross. But like realistically, even in base form, it's probably not doing much with either Guts or Moxie. It's like it's just too slow. Like maybe like and again, like it doesn't have the bulk. Like yeah, you could go like Guts Flame Orb with like close combat like Mega Horn, but like it's probably not good. And then its Mega's probably just like, is there a world where Mega Heracross is like good on like Trick Room?
Um, I mean, there are better options for Trick Room that are available from what we've seen. Like there is Ursaluna in this. And if you are gonna run like a Trick Room Super, you might as well just run Ursaluna.
Yeah,
So
that's
I don't
true.
know. Like I love Heracross, but this poor guy, I think I
Yeah,
don't think he's gonna be that good.
I'll make the executive decision. I love him. He's not good. I don't think he's even like, dude. Did we just drop Pinsir down to not good as well? I don't know. I feel like
Well, we
Pinsir
might
speed makes it.
actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Like Pinsir speed stat does make it a little better, but honestly, yeah, I think they're not gonna see any play at all. But a Pokemon that I think will see a lot of play, my goat, right here, Mega Tita or Tita, another mon that, you know, very good in both its base form and its Mega. Yeah, I guess, what are your thoughts on the goat, Tita?
So T-Tar, I would say it's not as strong as some of the other megas just because it has a really bad typing. But the thing that is going for it is that out of any Pokemon in the game, it by far probably has the best matchup into Charizard Y. So if people are going to be looking for counterplay, like this is the thing that you go with. And the other thing is it also does pair up very nicely with things like Garchomp because Garchomp gets access to Sandvale. And like that combination did win Worlds back in 2012 on Ray Rizzo's team. So I do think Tyranitar is pretty good. Its base form is strong. Its Mega is pretty decent. Like you could run a Dragon Dance set on the Mega if that's what you choose to do. But yeah, I think it will be nice for like counterplay. And looking at just the format, it does seem like a lower power format. So I could see it having some success.
One thing I also want to add too is this Pokemon probably has the best matchup into the top Megas out of every other like Pokemon in the game. Like when you look at its matchup into Zard, right? Very, very good. It has a very good matchup into Mega Gengar. I'm looking on the side here. Pretty good into D-Knight, right? You go down the list. Has a really good matchup into Salamence. Its matchup into Metagross also isn't too bad because it doesn't actually take that much damage from Heavy Slam. So like, even like Alakazam, right? There's a lot of theory around Alakazam potentially being one of the best Megas in the game. So I think its matchup into the top Megas is very, very good. It also like resists, you know, Kang, for example. So like Kang may have to run low kick. I'm pretty confident to say it's A tier. I do think its base form is better than its Mega. But I still think its Mega is still probably fine to run, especially with Dragon Dance.
Yeah, like I would say it's definitely solidly into A tier,
Yeah, like
but
its
just
bulk
because
is
its mega's
crazy.
not as
Yeah,
strong. Oh yeah, dude,
yeah,
like its stats are insane.
yeah.
But
It's
again, like the
actually
typing is a
crazy.
little tough.
Rock Slide
But
also
yeah, like
sucks.
it's
I hate this move so much.
yeah.
Like
It
it gets
always misses
knocked
whenever you
to.
need it.
Dude, if they brought back
Yeah.
Pursuit, actually, this guy like might be kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I can't spell, but yeah.
Like I don't think Pursuit was run back in the day, but like the thing is, at the same time, Toxic Spikes wasn't run back in the day,
Mm,
and now that's like common on Dozo teams. So like, I think
you
anything's
never know.
possible.
But
You
yeah,
never know.
I'm pretty confident to say A tier. Like I think T-Tar will always be usable. Like I think it's too good
Yeah.
not to be.
Yeah.
This is actually what I'm really interested to hear about you, from you. What are your thoughts on Mega Gardevoir? Because again, I don't think base form Gardy's really doing too much, but I know Mega Gardevoir historically was very, very good.
Oh yeah, so Mega Gardevoir was actually really, really good back in the day. Obviously, as the years went by, they added stronger and stronger fairy types that did compete with it. Um, like there were like the Tapus added back in 2017, and then obviously like now you have things like Fluttermane, but you know that doesn't really matter because Mega Gardevoir wasn't around for Scarlet and Violet. But Mega Gardevoir was really strong, especially when you paired it with a redirect user like Amoonguss. And the fact it got access to like Hyper Voice, it could set up Trick Room and so on and so forth, just made it really, really powerful back in the day. And when we do look at the list, like the only other really strong fairy type that is competing with it right now is Sylveon and Hatterene. But Hatterene right now, we don't see like Indeedee being available, as far as my knowledge. So,
We
you
have
know,
not seen
it
any of
could
that
be
yet.
really, really strong. And the fact it does have the fairy type tagged onto it being probably the second best type in the game, in my opinion, after probably like Steel. I mean, that's probably controversial. Most people probably think it's the best typing. But either way, it's one of the best types in the game. Like, so it was just really, really strong back in the day. I think this thing is like going to be very solid.
Yeah, I think it's probably safe to say that if Fluttermane doesn't exist, this is probably the best fairy type if Xerneas isn't around. Like, its special attack
yeah.
is, it's just absurd. Like, the pixelated hyper voices off this mon are like, they're crazy. It does get some like pretty good special coverage, I believe, as well. Like it gets things like Aura Sphere and whatnot. It has expanding force. Like that's the other thing too. Like we didn't have E-Force like Mega Gardy last time Gardy was available. So like expanding force hyper voice of this mon could be absolutely absurd. Like again, we see it's got the what's it called? Like it's got the coverage, right? It's got things like T-Ball. It's got things like Shadow Ball, Mystical Fire, Moon Blast. Like this mon has a lot. Even Energy Ball has a lot of really good coverage. There's also like Calm Mind as well. I think I think it got it didn't get Nasty Plot, but like I could see a world where like, you know, people run something like this, right? Where it's like just double stab Calm Mind, right? And it's like the only thing that would really mess with you at this point would be like a Steel type. But
Yeah.
again, that's where like the beauty of the rest of the team comes in and you can kind of play around that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty confident saying this guy's at least A tier. Like, would you go as far as S, or
Yeah.
do you think A is probably like
Um, I mean, I definitely think A. I don't know, like S. When I look at like Kangaskhan and Charizard, I don't think its Mega reaches those levels. But it is really close. Like it was really good back in the day. And I think for like a fun fact, I think it was like the only other Mega used in Worlds 2015 that finished top 8. I think all the other Megas were Kangaskhan. So,
Jesus?
and that,
Okay.
I might be wrong with that fact, but like, you know, it has been good in prior years, and it does pair up really nicely with Incineroar as well. Just because, you know, obviously like Fairy and Fire, like they pair kind of nicely typically, and then when you add on top of that, Mega Gardevoir does have low physical defense, but Incineroar obviously helps with the Intimidate ability, so I
Yeah.
think it's solidly into A.
Yeah, and look, I think the reason why I'm pretty set on it being A is, I think if Fluttermane and Xerneas aren't in the format, this is probably the premier fairy type. Like, outside of maybe like a random Togekiss. But yeah, I think any other format, this is the queen of the format. So I'm pretty comfortable keeping it in A there.
Yeah.
Next one here is Milo. I actually did speak about Milo a little bit in my last video. Unfortunately, I do think power creep has definitely caught up to Milotic, but I still think there's stuff it can do. In a lower power format in particular, competitive with like Incien running around is very good. Muddy Water plus like Coil is like also like really solid, right? Because you get like Coil, you get Hypnosis, which I think is fine. I think it did get Scald back in ZA, but like whether or not it keeps that is a different story. But yeah, I guess what are your thoughts on Milo? Like, I think this mon's good, but like, I don't think it's like amazing.
Yeah,
If you know
like
what I mean?
Milo's always been like all right. Like it's shown up at random points in formats and it has been okay. But it's never been like one of those top Pokemon. Like it's really nice as an anti-meta Pokemon,
Yeah,
because obviously, like you said, it gets competitive and it is really nice for Incin. But it's just like as the years have gone by, there's been stronger and stronger water types added to the game that just really kind of do compete with it. And like now that we're speaking about things like Gyarados and obviously like Starmie potentially having a really strong mega, like it does hurt Milo a bit, but I
yeah,
think in like in certain situations it can be pretty good. But I don't think it's like anywhere near SRA, but I also don't think
yeah.
it's like in C or D either, so I would put it in D.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like for me originally, I was like maybe it's C tier, but then I look at the C tier, I'm like I think it's better than them. But then at the same time, I don't think it's quite on like Gyarados or like Venusaur's level. So like I'm happy to go bottom of B because again, like the whole point of this is it's good in the right format, and I think in a lower power format where Incin is potentially everywhere, this mon is very good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy to keep it there. Mega or Metagross, but in particular, I think we're talking about Mega Metagross here. I guess the first question I have for you is this S tier or is it A tier?
Oh, dude, it's like really close.
I think it's S personally.
I so like from my experience of Mega Metagross, like I remember back in 2018, I think it won 3 out of the 4 international titles. Like it is really, really strong. However, with that being said, like when I was looking down the list, they did add other strong steel types back into the game that do directly compete with it. So like there's like King Gambit and Aegislash, which it has a pretty rough matchup into, and then there's also Archaludon as well. But I mean, its Mega is just so strong. And then the other thing about its Mega is like now it gets access to things like Heavy Slam, which it didn't have before, and Psychic Fangs, which is better than Zen Headbutt because higher accuracy and higher base power, and it can break through screens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's really good. Its stats are insane. Like I think it just barely makes S, but it's probably right at the very bottom of it, just because it is competing with those other steel types.
Can I give you another reason why I think this mon is S tier though? Actually, no, it should work. There's a beautiful move in the game called poaching. I don't think it was around last time Mega Metagross was legal. But I think
true.
In my video, I talked about a combination of like going like Sneasler Dragapult with Mega Metagross. And like Sneasler is again, it's a mon we'll talk about a little later on in the video. But having the option to like potentially coaching this mon on a balance team, I think is just absurd. Like when you look at these stats, like if I drop this to level 50 real quick, like imagine this, right? You don't have to run much. Like you just go like something like this Adamant, and then you're just coaching this guy, and it's like kind of insane. Like it's this is a mon that like I think coaching is like made for. And like again, you don't want to eat a coaching off this. I also saw like a fun calc as well. Like obviously, hopefully it won't be relevant for a little while. But did you know that Sword of Ruin Heavy Slam off this guy just like straight up one shots like the standard Rillaboom?
That doesn't really shock me.
Yeah, it's like max HP Rillaboom just gets one shot by Heavy Slam, and it's like, oh, that's a really good Pokemon, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, look, I think this is going to be a meta staple. I'm happy to put it in the S tier for now. One of the other things as well, it might have actually been you who mentioned it to me, but like Mega Metagross plus T-Tar also seems pretty good. Because like T-Tar has like a pretty solid matchup into a lot of what it's weak to, like in particular like Charizard. Like it's really good into Charizard. While obviously it's like a little 50-50 with things like Aegislash and what was the other steel type? Like King Gambit and whatnot.
King Gambit and Archaludon.
Yeah, so it's like it's probably not the best into Arc in particular, but like low kick for Gambit, knock off for like Goldango and the Aegislashes is like also solid. So like I do think T-Tar in particular is a really good partner for Mega Metagross. And yeah, I think Metagross is just, I think it's S tier. It's going to be hard for me to kind of move it off that.
Yeah, it is definitely very strong, like from my experiences of just playing with it. And even the base form also gets clear body as well,
so
it
can't be intimidated on turn 1, which is big. All right, we'll move on though to another steel type, Empoleon. Now, this guy kind of fills a similar niche to that of Milotic. Do you think Empoleon, like, I think if Milotic's in the format, you're probably just never playing this, right? I don't think it's the best competitive user we have.
Yeah, I would say Milotic just has better stat
Yeah.
distribution, and then to add on top of that, like Empoleon, um, like I don't know. I do think Milotic just is overall better. And then the other thing is, it's like if you are gonna run any water or steel types, there's just so many options right
Yeah.
now
Especially
that are
water
just better
types.
than it.
I mean, like
Yeah, and just
you
like
look at
kind
our
of fit the
list,
role.
we literally have 3 water types in the B tier that are all better than it. And I think there's even an argument that these 2 here are better than it, like just because of their
Yeah,
megas.
I
So
would say
like,
so.
I'm gonna put it at the bottom of C. I don't think there's much we need to say about Empoleon. Like, it gets competitive, which is cool. It doesn't get muddy water. If it gets like Scald and like Flash Cannon, like maybe it's like it's okay. They're not very like Scald's a great move. Flash Cannon's kind of like average. Like it does get things like Yawn, but like realistically, I don't think it's good. It's honestly like it's niche because it has competitive, but it's probably just not good, right? Like I
Yeah,
think
like
D
it's
tier is like honestly
probably in D
fine.
tier. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy to keep it there. Next one though, this is a bit opposite. I'm really curious to see what you say about Mega Garchomp because I could see this being anywhere from S to B tier. I think you and I did
Yeah.
speak roughly about Mega Z, which is something we can get into in a second. But I guess yeah, what are your thoughts on Chomp?
So the thing about Chomp is that it's kind of funny. It's one of those Pokemon that got access to a Mega and its base form was just better than its Mega for like
Yeah.
a really, really long time. Um, Garchomp, it does pair up very nicely with Charizard. It essentially is kind of like a poor man's Charizard Landorus T, which was like really
Mm,
popular. Um, and Garchomp does pair nicely with it. It also does pair up nicely with Tyranitar. Um, the thing is with it, like its base form is pretty strong, and it actually was used a lot back in the day to kind of counteract Kangaskhan because it had access to Rough Skin,
mm-hmm.
and if Kangaskhan hit it, then it would take damage. But now with its new Mega, like I think the new Mega actually looks pretty solid. I understand that it does lose its ground typing, which is a kind of a big deal, but its stats are just so good, and the fact that you could run it as either physical or special, and it's pretty bulky and pretty fast, I think is a really big deal. So I think you could actually run it on a team where it's paired with Charizard Y and you do dual Mega,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just kind of Mega Evolve and bring to the
Whatever you
match
need,
which
yeah.
Pokemon you need. And even you could bring like both of them to the same match if you're gonna Mega Evolve Charizard Y, just because Garchomp does pair nicely with Earthquaking next to
Mm,
it. So I do think it is pretty solid. Like I would put it personally in A tier.
yeah.
But
I'm
yeah, I
happy
wouldn't
with
say it's
that.
in like that echelon of those S tier mons.
One thing I do just want to like briefly mention with Chomp as well, is it does actually have a really good matchup into a lot of what's good, right? It outspeeds Charizard and can rock slide it. As you mentioned, Rough Skin into Kang is obviously very scary. The potential of something like a Choice Scarf Earthquake is very good into Metagross. You can Earthquake the Gengars, you can Earthquake Raichu, you can Earthquake this guy, you can like Dragon Move this guy or Rock Slide it, right? So like it has a very, very good matchup into like a majority of what is good here. I do think its first Mega Form, we can like briefly touch on this. I don't think this mon's good. I think the speed loss is really bad. I don't know if you saw, there was like the Terra leak or whatever it was like a year or so ago. There was actually like findings that originally Mega Garchomp was meant to have 112 base speed instead of 102. If they were to fix that coming into Champions, I think all of a sudden this form gets like literally 10 times better. Like 112 base
Oh
speed Mega
yeah.
Garchomp, I think, like if they just took 20 out of its special attack, put it into its speed, this one all of a sudden becomes really good. But as currently constructed, it's not good. Like it would have to be played on sand, but its speed stat is too bad. But this one here is the real talking point, because this here alone might be S tier. The speed stat of 151 is absurd. I believe this is our first Z Mega we've actually had a chance to talk about. 130 and 141 is still really good. It could be like a very solid mixed attacker. You could go special, you could go physical. I believe it also gets access to Nasty Plot and Swords Dance. So it's like you could run this thing
Yeah.
like slow, bulky with setup. Obviously, it gets access to Draco Meteor. It actually does get a lot of like really good special coverage, I believe. I know it gets fire coverage. Yeah, it still gets Earth Power. It gets like
Yeah.
Flamethrower, Fire Blast. Like, so there's a lot of options on the special side. Obviously, on the physical side, we know what Garchomp can run. 108, 85, 85 is also still like respectable bulk. Like that HP stat is very good, and the defensive stats aren't bad. So like, losing the ice type honestly isn't the end of the world, because like the only way to KO this thing in one shot now is going to be like a Draco Meteor or a Moonblast. Like any other move just isn't going to one shot this thing, outside like maybe an Outrage. So yeah, obviously we're gonna have to wait and see what its hidden ability is. Oh, sorry, its ability is. But I think it's hard to say this is anything but A tier. Like Garchomp as a mon is just really good.
Yeah, it's always been pretty solid. Obviously, in recent years, it has hurt a little bit, but the fact that they just gave it this new Mega, and this does look like a lower base power format, I mean, it's looking pretty solid to me.
Yeah, nah, I agree. We'll move over to Lucario. Now, ignoring like beat up justified stuff that it does in base form, do you want to tell me about its regular Mega?
So its regular Mega, it's kind of interesting because it did see some play back in 2014, but that format was known to have a lot of like creative picks and creative choices in it. And then once we got to more standard formats and using a national dex with things like Landorus in the format and so on and so forth, it just kind of fell off a cliff. So unfortunately, you know, its first mega form wasn't like that amazing, which does make me sad because I do really love Lucario as a Pokemon. But looking at like its brand new mega, it actually looks kind of good.
Yeah. I guess quickly as well before we move on from base form, base Mega Lucario. It does also now have the inner focus buff, so it can't be intimidated anymore going into the adaptability form, which I think is good. It was also a Pokemon, correct me if I'm wrong, it had a really good matchup into Mega Kang. Like that was kind of its like whole niche, was it was like if you needed a mon to beat Mega Kang, like this was the guy. But yeah, like I don't know, like adaptability is cool. It's a mixed attacker, which feels kind of rough. But as you mentioned, I do think this guy here is the one to talk about. One of the speculations with Lucario is that it could potentially get Mega Launcher, which when you have Aura Sphere and Flash Cannon, which are both buffed by Mega Launcher, having two 120 base power, I guess, stab moves coming off these stats is kind of absurd.
Yeah, definitely.
And it also gets Nasty Plot and Dark Pulse as well, which like, so I think Dark Pulse off memory like really clears up its coverage. And Nasty Plot just like means like, again, it's kind of what we were saying before with like, you know, Garchomp, right? Like this is a steel type. So like theoretically speaking, you could run this thing like ultra bulky, just like run some set like this, hit whatever speed stat it is you might need to hit, and then just like invest all your points into bulk. And then you just like click a Nasty Plot and then this thing will just one shot everything.
Yeah, like that's how I would run it personally, just because what I've come to realize with Megas is like when they have one of these stats that is just completely absurd, you typically don't need to invest into it because it's already just naturally so strong, and you might as well kind of fix the areas where it is a bit weaker in. So you could absolutely just run like super bulky and then hit like a very specific speed stat, and then anything left over you just dump into its special attack.
Yeah, because like again, like this is obviously all theory, but like you look at this, like this here is all you need to like outspeed like Ogerpon, outspeed Tornadus, which are like obviously really good Pokemon, and as things potentially come up, right, you know, again, you could adjust it, but having 400 EVs to like potentially invest in your bulk, I think is kind of crazy. But like I'm torn about this because I genuinely think Lucario Z could be S tier. Like I think it has the potential to be that good. I kind of want to just say A tier for now, just to be a bit more conservative. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say A tier for now. It is also going to very heavily, I think, depend on the ability as well on it. Just because with its new Mega, it is pretty frail, even with the bulk investment. But I do think A is like very fair for it.
Yeah. I mean, it is a steel type, which is like one of the major things going for it. But yeah, I think it's like its base form is like sadly just bad. I think its other Mega is like its other Mega might be like B tier just because of it specifically its matchup into Kang. But I do think its Z form is what like really pushes it up to like potential AS tier for me.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll move on to Leafeon. I'm gonna put it in D tier. I don't think we need to say much. The only time Leafeon has ever been good was that one time Wolf ran it in the early formats, right?
I think
of Dynamax in particular.
So. Yeah, and it was on like a very niche team. But once you also add on top of that the fact it is competing with another chlorophyll user in Venusaur, I mean, this thing, there really isn't a justification to use it over Venusaur.
Yeah. I mean,
at any point.
It also like doesn't have sleep powder, which like every other chlorophyll mon has. So I think it's just it's not
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Serp because I think this is another one that probably goes straight to the not good tier. I'm sad. I love Serp. In like theory, like Serperior is like kind of cool. But like, I think this mon needs to become a dragon and get Draco Meteor before I can call it good. It gets like Leaf Storm, right? It gets Glare. There's like the Subseed stuff that I know people run in singles, but like, I don't know. Is there anything you can say about Serp that like gets it out of the D tier?
Like me personally, I would probably actually have it in C tier and being more niche, just because in prior years it did actually have some success. Obviously, in recent history, it has not, it has not been too good, unfortunately. But I remember back in like 2018, people were running it typically next to Charizard X, and it was
Okay.
kind of like a nice little way to have a partial fire, water, grass core. So I think like it could be okay if you run like Leaf Storm and Glare, and like you're able to get maybe a few paralyses with Glare and so on and so forth. So I'd say it's niche. It's better than the Pokemon probably all the way in D tier, but it's definitely not like I think any higher than that personally.
Yeah. Look, I'll give it to you for now. We can move it up because I actually do love Superior. But yeah, I'm just not a huge believer, but look, I hope I'm wrong. Time will tell. I guess Hisuian Samurott. This is the one I actually like had a lot of like hope for when it first came out. Kind of disappointed. I think Ceaseless Edge is like
Yeah.
not bad. I think its typing of Water Dark also isn't bad. Like it gets sharpness and like, you know, it gets access to things like Sacred Sword and whatnot. But I guess, what are your thoughts on it? Like, for me, this is probably just a C tier mon. I don't think we need to go like too in depth on it. Like, it's a mixed attacker with average bulk, average speed. It like probably wants Assault Vest, but it also probably wants like Clear Amulet. So it's like, I don't really know. It does get Aqua Cutter, I guess, for Incin. Um, yeah. Is there anything else you can like add to this that I haven't really touched on
Um,
yet?
I mean, you pretty much summarized it up. Like, I think it's one of those Pokemon where it's one of those cases where it's pretty good in singles, but it's just not that
Yeah.
great in doubles. Like, I think there was one time, or maybe once or twice, where I got a result with Eduardo, who was the 2022 world champion. I think he got like maybe top eight of a regional with it. But yeah, it's like it's too niche for me. And then again, like I guess the theme that has been talked about here is there are just a lot of strong water types. And when you
Hmm.
kind of look at the list and see what it's competing with, I do think it is going to have a little bit of a hard
Yeah.
time.
I'm with you, and like I'll admit, in like Reg H in particular, at the very start, there was like a lot of times Samurott would hit the builder because like Water Dark just felt really good, like typing wise. But then in practice, the mon was just average. Like I feel like it's
Yeah.
if you took like 20 points out of its like special attack and put it in a speed, and then you made Ceaseless Edge not miss, then like maybe all of a sudden it feels a lot better. But like it's already so slow that like it only really outspeeds like balanced Pokemon, right? Like I mean the speed type is Rillaboom, right? Like which is like another big thing. If Rillaboom ever comes back, then it's like, you know, it kind of just straight up hard walls it. But yeah, I think it's C tier. I don't think it's as bad as the mons in D tier, but like I would probably say it's like maybe here in the C tier, like maybe better than these three. Um
Yeah, I think you could maybe make an argument for Superior being better than it, but it's so close.
Interesting.
Like it doesn't really
Hmm.
matter like which one you have above the other because I would say they're pretty much in the same
Yeah.
echelon.
See, I feel like I'm sleeping on Superior because, like, if you ask me, Serp's like the worst of these ones, but then you're telling me it's like maybe better than these two, so I don't know. But speaking of an actual good Pokemon, my goat Whimsicott, one of my all-time favorite competitive Pokemon. I think it's hard to argue that Whims is like not A tier because there is just always something it can do, even in formats where Tornadus exists. It's still there. It has Sash, right? It has Cloak, which are both really good. It has Stab Moonblast. It gets Tailwind, Encore, Light Screen. It gets like a ridiculous amount of support moves, right? Fake Tears, another like personal favorite of mine. I guess, yeah, like what are your thoughts? Like, is this not just one of the premier support Pokemon in the game?
Oh, dude, it's in my opinion, not only is it one of the premier support Pokemon, it's one of the best Pokemon probably of all time. It is in that category of like very few Pokemon that has won the World Championships multiple times. Um, like this thing, it's always going to be good. It's a really great Tailwind setter. Moonblast is a nice move for it to have. I think even like you might disagree with me on this. I think you could even argue it might even be an S tier just because it's such a low power format. Like it will be probably the premier Tailwind center. Obviously, is it as strong as like Charizard, Kangaskhan, Metagross, no, but the fact that it's just so good at setting up Tailwind and it's always so consistent and it's never a bad choice, I would probably put it like maybe top of A, bottom of S. Maybe S a little too high. I don't know. I might be a little biased because I do love it a lot. But yeah.
Look, I'm incredibly biased towards Whimsicott. I'm going to go with top of A, simply because I think this mob will always have a niche in any format it's in. But we have seen historically, like, when Tornadus is legal, it typically drops off, right? Just because Torn, and again, it's very format dependent, right? Like we saw in Regulation H, for example, sorry, Reg F, Torn was just better. And the reason for that is because Torn also deals damage while also being a support Pokemon, where once we got to say like the restricted formats, Whimsicott then becomes better because you don't need a support Pokemon that deals damage anymore. All of a sudden it's like, oh, I can set a light screen for my Miraidon, I can set Tailwind for whoever needs it, right? I have Encore support, so all of a sudden it's like, oh, do you really want to protect in front of a Kali Shadow? It's like, it has just, I think, more supportive options than Tornadus, but it obviously doesn't have the offense of it as well. But I'm pretty comfortable to put this at the top of S tier. I think it is, sorry, top of A tier. I think when it comes to Tailwind setters, it's number, you know, it's 1A, 1B with Tornadus. Obviously, Torn's a legend. It isn't. And then it just has everything else, right? It has Weather. It has Trick Room. Like, it's best of one cheese on this is ridiculous. It has things like Beat Up. I think it's really hard to put it anywhere, but yeah, like top of A tier.
Yeah, it's very good. Like, you never can go wrong having it on your team.
Side story, like when I very first started playing VGC, I played a Whimsicott team with fake tears and it was like chef's kiss. I would fake tears and then I would max strike with a Life Orb PZ. I was like, oh, that was the one of my favorite teams of all time.
Oh man, was that like 2017?
No, it was first year of Sword and Shield.
Oh, first, okay.
Yeah,
because that actually was a strategy back in 2017
really?
where people would run like fake tears caught with PZ with adaptability and choice scarf and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Jeez, I love that. Oh, it's so good. I'm gonna put Emolga straight at the like second worst, probably actually the worst mod in D tier. I think it's actually just worse than
we don't need to talk about it. We don't need to.
Are you sure? It has Motor Drive. It's got Tornadus' typing. Honestly, even at level 100, Tornadus might still have better stats at level 50.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what this thing does. Its stats are awful. Its speed is bad. I mean, it's not bad. 103 is actually fine, but yeah, it's a bad Pokemon. VGC wise, it does absolutely nothing. Hydreigon, though,
like one niche team, but like, yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Move to Hydreigon. I'll straight up just say, before you even talk about Hydreigon, I think it's B tier. If there is a really, really good fairy type in the format, it's not good. Unless it has the option of Terra. If it has Terra, then it's got, you know, some stuff it can do. Yeah, do you have any thoughts on Hydreigon? I think Hydreigon is like, it's hard to say it's ever bad, but there are also formats where it does tend to struggle just a little bit.
Yeah, it is one of those Pokemon that really just hurts from fairy types being introduced in the game, and it's so unfortunate because at one point in time, like, I thought it was the best dragon type in all of Pokemon, before obviously Generation 6, but then, you know, now that we have pretty good fairy types, that is very, very bad for it. It does actually pair up really nicely with Mega Metagross in particular, and obviously like Aegislash, which you talked about in another video. So I would say it's probably B tier. Like, it will be solid, it will be fine, but if you see like a Gardevoir on another team or Whimsicott, you probably want to leave it in the back.
Yeah, and look, that's the thing. Like, it does have the beauty of like what a lot of pseudo legends have, where like it has just a ridiculous move pool. Like, I've even seen people like run this thing in draft with like choice scarf U-turn and whatnot. Like, its stats are like really good across the board. It probably is let down by the fact that its attack stat is its second best stat. Like, if it's attack and speed swapped, I think this one all of a sudden gets a lot better. Levitate is cool, especially in like Terra formats, right? You know, we saw like Terra Ghost, like hard wall Ursaluna. We saw Terra Steel be a really good wall into Ursaluna while also being good into other things, right? So I think it is just like a B tier mon. It's probably like near the top of the B tier. Just because, again, I think it's really good. And like, as we both mentioned, if there is no fairy type on the opposing team, this mon's really good. And also, I think my camera just died, which isn't great. Dude, no, I'm frozen. Okay, I'll let you move on. Let's go on to Chestnut. I'm gonna try and fix my camera while you tell me where you think Chestnut goes.
So Chestnut had obviously got a brand new Mega. There were niche sets used where I think it got Iron Defense and Body Press. So there have been times where it actually has been all right. With that being said, though, I don't think it's as strong as some of the other Megas on the list. And then when you add on top of that, its base form doesn't really have like amazing utility, like things like Kangaskhan or so on and so forth. I do think it probably is a pretty niche mon. You maybe can argue that it might be like very bottom of B tier just because it does have access to a Mega, but it's got a poor typing. It's just, I don't know. Like I would put it probably like in C tier if anything.
Oh, all right. Unfortunately, I can't fix the camera, by the way, but we're like an hour and a half plus in, so that should be fine. So yeah. I will say I'm a little different to you. I do think it's probably B tier, just based on the fact that its stats are just absurd. I think its Mega's stats are insane. I think this is going to be one of the premier Trick Room mons, in my opinion, depending on the format. But like I think its stats are absurd and its options are great. Like it has Iron Defense, Body Press, with like Leech Seed and Sub and whatnot. It also gets like access to Spiky Shield. It gets Swords Dance, it gets Belly Drum, it gets Grassy Glide, so you can go for like Belly Drum, Drain Punch, Grassy Glide stuff if Rillaboom exists. Because of that, I personally think it's probably B tier. Again, I think you're correct. Its typing is awful, so it is going to be very format dependent. Like I think in a lower power format, this one's pretty good. Like, its matchup into Zard, for example, is, like, really bad. But then I think its matchup into, like, Kang and Metagross is, like, really good. Its matchup into Mega Gengar in particular is also really good because Mega Gengar actually can't touch it with Shadow Ball Sludge Wave. Sludge Bomb. So, like, I personally think it's B tier. Like, can I convince you that it's a B tier mon here?
I mean, you are making a pretty convincing argument, so no, I'd say yeah, B tier. Why not?
Its stats are just so absurd that I think it's like hard, like to put it
anywhere
else.
It has really good stats.
It also like I've seen people talk about this as well. Like as formats get stronger too, like we could see like sets where it's like something like this, where it's like it's a Wide Guard guy, it's a Spiky Shield guy, it's just Iron Defense Body Press guy. Like it's, you know, it has the potential to be just like a really good support. And again, I think in the right format, this guy could probably just be A tier. But I think for the most part, it's probably B.
Yeah, I would say B probably.
All right, next up is the Fox. What are your opinions on Mega Delphox in particular? Because I think this guy's pretty good. I made a video about it.
I feel like it's all right. I think it got shafted a little bit with the fact it got Levitate.
It's so like hit and miss, right? Because like I get why you don't want it to have Levitate, but Levitate on a fire type is really good. Also, it's like it's not a bad thing to have.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm so mixed on it because the thing is, since it does get access to Levitate, it kind of functions very similarly to Charizard Y. And I think based on the fact that it functions so similarly to it, it just makes it worse because Charizard gets like a much better ability in Drought, where it's obviously like just way better than Levitate. And then Charizard, I think there's just like a lot more that you could do with its stats in general. So yeah, like this poor thing. Like I was really hoping it wouldn't get Levitate, and maybe it would get like Psychic. Ooh, I just hit my mic. And then maybe it would get like Psychic Surge or something. I think it's probably like B tier, like around where Chestnut is. Yeah. I wouldn't put it as high as A. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, look, for me, it's a mon we're just gonna have to see it, right? Because I definitely think in the right format, it's definitely worthy of A. I think in a bad format, it's probably better than Chestnut. So like, I'm happy to like rank it above it. Like if you were to ask me, I would say they're both probably like high in the B tier, like maybe something like this. But yeah, like you're correct, right? I think Levitate definitely kind of screws it over because if it was on the ground, I think Expanding Force would just be broken on this guy. Obviously we don't have that option, sadly. But I still think, you know, Nasty Plot Double Stab is going to be great. As I've discussed previously in videos as well, there's ways to get this guy on the ground. You know, we can bring in our Weezing to drop it on the ground. We can go Choice Scarf and DD with Gravity to put it on the ground. So, you know, there's options. I have joked about pulling up to the first GC, especially now that we know the GC doesn't have CP involved. I might pull up with like a Mega Delphox, like Gravity Weezing team. Like, why not? If they're all legal, give it a crack, pair it up with some sand and see how it goes. But I think you're right. I think B tier for now is probably the place to put it. But I certainly wouldn't be surprised if it raised up a bit more.
Yeah.
We'll move on though to Mega Gren. Do you have any thoughts on Gren? I think base form Gren's pretty bad, and I think if Mega Gren doesn't get like unnerfed protein, it's probably just average, right? Like it shares a speed tier with Dragapult. It's slower than all the base 151s. Like it doesn't have the best matchup into a lot of the top mons. Like it's fake out Fodder. If Rillaboom exists, it's getting one tap by a Grassy Glide. It did get plot in SD though, which is like something, but yeah, I guess what are your thoughts on it?
So unfortunately for Grim, like even since I was playing way back when, it never actually has been that like good in competitive, unfortunately. Like it was good in singles, but in doubles, obviously that is not really the case. And then again, like this goes into what we spoke about, like it can't really, I think, keep up with the other water types available. And then once you add on top of that, there are other water dark types that are in the same kind of plane with it. Like Gyarados. I mean, Gyarados is obviously like probably just a better Mega in general. It has better stats. It has probably better options as far as moves are concerned. So yeah, like I think this thing unfortunately is not that good. I would probably put in like C tier.
I'm with you. One thing I actually did get a comment on a video about that I did think was really interesting is that this is actually a really fast pledge Pokemon. Someone in particular mentioned pairing it with Mega Meganium in particular and setting the Swamp. And because of that, I could actually see it maybe having a niche there where like you do pair it with something like Meganium, which is like super slow, but like hits really hard, right? Like, so like a Pokemon like this, like if it does get like Moonblast plus like say like a strong grass move, I could see that being cool. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a niche mon. It's definitely C tier. It's like maybe format dependent. Like maybe there's a format where like a base 142 speed water type is really good. But until we see that, for me, it's probably hard to put it above C tier.
Yeah.
Moving on, though, to another one of my all-time favorites. I don't know how you feel about this, but I am of the belief that they should unnerf Gale Wings in Pokemon Champions.
I'm of the opposite opinion.
Bring my goat back to his former glory. Obviously, Talonflame is... I would probably say like the third best Tailwind setter, right? Is there anything outside of like Tornadus and Whimsicott that's like a better Tailwind setter than this guy?
I mean, there's not any popping off on the top of my head. There might be.
I probably could just search it.
Yeah, like Talonflame, it is one of those things that it is better in lower power formats. I think like, because the thing is, back in the day, it was like kind of broken with Gale Wings just working all the time. Where now I think it's actually like relatively fair and balanced. Me personally, like I know this isn't a really popular set. I actually prefer bulky Talonflame that has access to things like Will-O-Wisp and Taunt for support.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think it would be solid. Like I think it would probably be a B tier mon. I don't think I would put it in A tier just because those Pokemon I do think are just overall stronger than it. But yeah, like I think it'll be solid.
Yeah,
but also the fact that it is competing with Charizard Y, which has the same typing, could be a little bit tough for it.
I do agree. I think as currently constructed, it probably is B tier. I think in the first format we get, if it is lower power, I do think it'll like straight up be an A tier mon. But obviously the issue with that is the second you head into like say a restricted format, it's probably just not going to be seen because Taunt and Whimsicott will just be everywhere, while Talonflame probably won't see any play. The one thing I do like about Talon in particular is it's a lot more offensive than Whimsicott, and like it is funny to say that because like if you look at their stats next to each other, like Whimsicott has 77 special attack, where this guy only has 81 physical attack, so like they are almost identical. But the big difference is Blitz and Brave Bird being just like such strong moves. And funny enough, like my best result ever in a GC when I was like, granted it wasn't that high, I was in like 1720. But it was with actually like an Adamant Life Orb Talonflame, where it was like it was like on those I don't know if you remember, it was like the Sneasler like Psy Spam teams.
Oh yeah.
So
that was
like
fun,
they were a bit scary. So like the way I kind of played it was I played Talon paired up with Rillaboom, And so like a lot of the times I would lead like Talon like Goldengo to like bait them, and then I would just go like hard Rilla Brave Bird, and like you just nuke stuff, man. Like it was absurd how much damage this guy can do. And I know back in the day, I'm sure you were like aware of it, but like there was like the Choice Band of Brave Bird stuff when Gale Wings was always just on, which I do think was kind of funny too. I wouldn't run that today, but yeah, I'm happy to put it in B tier. I do think like it's a fun mon. Like I love Talonflame. Like you best believe I will be testing this mon out very, very early on in Pokemon Champions. Next up though, Aegislash. I am curious to see what you have to say about this. Obviously in the past, Aegislash was an absolute animal. We also saw as well Goldengo, who shares its typing, was one of the best Pokemon throughout the entirety of Scarlet and Violet. So I guess, yeah, how do you think Aegislash is going to hold up in this format?
So Aegislash is one of those Pokemon that in recent years, like, obviously it wasn't around in Scarlet and Violet, and then it really suffered in the Dynamax format because you couldn't switch between its shield form and then its sword form.
I did not know that.
Just because like of the way that Dynamax Protect worked. I forget the name. I think it was just Protect or Max Protect or whatever.
Yeah.
Where you had to specifically use King's Shield in order to switch between the stances. When Aegislash wasn't in a Dynamax format, it was really, really strong. Like, it did well in 2015. It was really strong in 2014. It got second place at Japanese Nationals in 2018, even as far up as that. And the other thing that also is really nice about it is that since it does switch between its defensive and offensive form, its stats actually switch between the forms. So it does offer a lot of utility. And the other thing is you can run it as either a physical or a special attacker, and both sets have done well in prior years. The other thing that also is amazing about it is that it does get access to Wide Guard, which can be a really nice way of protecting Charizard Y, because Charizard Y and Aegislash was actually a really popular pairing, and it was a nice way to kind of stop Tyranitar from just clicking Rock Slide. And the other thing is that, you know, with Aegislash being a steel type, that has the most resistances out of any type in the game, and Fire is tied in second place for the second most amount of resistances of any type in the game. So you actually have a really nice defensive core there. So this thing I think is going to be like really strong. I think it's a really solid Pokemon. So yeah, I think you could argue like it definitely is somewhere in A tier.
Yeah, A tier is where like I personally think it would be. Like if I had to guess, it would probably like, I guess this tier isn't really ranked because I also don't think Raichu is like near the top of it. But like I feel like I feel pretty comfortable putting it near to like high mid A tier personally.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I guess a quick question though. Who is the better Ghost Steel type, do you think? Is it Aegislash or is it Goldengo?
Oh man, dude, I don't know. Like
they're both really good.
they're both really, really good. If I had to choose, I think I would choose Goldengo just because I think it has a better ability.
Yeah.
With that being said,
which is crazy to say.
Aegislash still is like really strong.
Yeah.
Like I would not count this thing out because even in formats where people thought it was bad, it would just come back and like win an event, and it was like, all right.
Yeah. It is funny that you mentioned the ability because I actually think Make It Rain is why I put Goldengo above Aegislash.
Yeah,
but I guess it kind of goes hand in hand. Next up, Sylveon. This is probably like the second best fairy type in the game currently. Like it's weird because like I think it's a better fairy type than like Whimsicott, but like if you're talking about like a fairy type attacker, it's probably Gardevoir and then it's Sylveon.
Yeah,
they do very similar things. I'm happy to put Sylvie in B tier. I think Sylveon is like a better Trick Room mon, obviously. It doesn't hit quite as hard, but it still has Pixelate Hyper Voices. Is there anything else you think worth adding? Like, I do know people like ran Carmine back in the day. I actually do think losing Terra Blast is like probably not great for it, but
yeah, it's a little tough. Like I think it also gets access to Yawn, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think
might
all EV forms do. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sylveon, like it was really good back in 2015, but as the years went by, there was just stronger and stronger fairy types added to the game. But obviously, with what we see is available, I think it actually is going to be like pretty decent, just because there is a limited pool of fairy types right now. So it's probably like somewhere in the middle of B tier. It's definitely not as strong as Mega Gardevoir and doesn't have as good a support as like Whimsicott. But like it will be solid. Like if you don't want to run Mega Gardevoir as your mega option, you want to run one of the stronger megas, then you certainly can have this on your team. And that was like proven to be true back when I think I forget his name right now, but there was a person that finished third at the World Championships in 13 with Sylveon on the team. So like it has been proven to work. Really solid Pokemon.
Yeah, and I think you summed up pretty well there, where it's like, I actually do think Sylveon is better than base Gardevoir. So it's like, if you need a fairy type, you don't want it to, and you want it to be like an attacker, but your Mega Slot is taken, I think like Sylveon kind of slides in there, is like the premier one, as long as like Flutter Mane doesn't exist. Because like, again, like you can like look at like fairy types here, right? Like there's not many, and actually maybe this guy here ends up taking his place. We'll have to wait and see about that one, I guess. But there really isn't that many great fairy types, right? Like when it comes to mind, I think of like Kiss. Like Kiss is a big one that potentially could be returning. Obviously, we also now potentially have Meganium and Floette as well. So maybe, look, I'm happy to keep it in the B tier. But now that I'm looking at this, like with the addition of like Clef, Meganium, and Floette, maybe it is actually a bit more rivaled for that like second best fairy in the game.
Yeah. Like right now, I would say it is, but if those are in the game, then it definitely falls down a little bit.
I think it's probably better than Hat, especially if Indeedee doesn't exist as well.
Yeah.
But we'll jump over to Hawlucha. Currently, no terrain has been shown. Have you seen its Mega?
No, actually, I've not. I actually totally forgot it had a Mega until you just mentioned it right now.
it's interesting. Obviously, its ability will definitely reveal a bit. A lot of people are actually thinking Stamina is what it's going to get. Its bulk is decent, its attack is good, and its speed is good. I just worry that, like, it's too slow. Like, at 118, it's like, I don't know. Like, to me, this is probably like a niche mon. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, I guess, before you jump in, it is hard to explain Mega Hawlucha, I guess, because it is drastically different from regular Lucha, which is like very fast and frail. This is very fast and bulky. Yeah, is there anything I guess you can like add to this?
I mean, I think you pretty much summed it up pretty great right there. Like, it really kind of needs terrain to kind of make its unburdened ability work, and we don't have access to a terrain user right now. And looking at it as a Mega, like, its speed's good, but the fact that you now have, like, the new Garchomp form and the new Lucario form that are hitting 151, and then you have Gengar at 130, and, you know, all this other stuff, it just makes it, I think, a little hard for it. Like, maybe you can argue it's bottom of B tier, and, like, top of niche, but, yeah, I don't think this thing's gonna be, like, all that amazing, personally.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like, I think this one is just one of those ones where we probably just need to actually see it in action before we really judge it. Because, like, again, I look at this, like, I don't think it's as good as Delphox. I don't think it's as good as Venusaur. I don't think it's as good as Talonflame. So, but in saying that, I could also see it being better than everything in the C tier. So I'm happy to leave it in C for now.
Yeah.
Incineroar, I think this is an easy D tier. I don't think we need to talk about it, right?
Yeah, let's leave it there.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I actually don't think we need to talk much about Incin. This is the GOAT. I think most people would tell you this is the greatest Pokemon of all time. If not, it is very, very close. Is there anything you want to say about Incin? Like, I'm actually lost for words. Like, I don't know how to describe this guy.
I think this is one of those things that we don't even need to, like, explain. Like, everyone knows the deal with Incineroar. Best fake out user in the game, great ability, decent typing.
Second best of its typing, I do want to add, though. It is only the second best fighter.
Yeah, I know you're on the Chi-Yu train. But yeah, like, great stats, can be run so many different ways. I mean, this is like this is either the greatest or second greatest VGC Pokemon of all time. It's just, yeah.
I think the thing too that makes it so insane is, like, when you look at it, like 95, 90, 90, like, it doesn't seem that impressive. But then when you factor in, like, Intimidate and, like, access to an item like Assault Vest, it's like, it really is just pick your poison. Like, oh, I really need my Incin to, like, live a Surging Strike. It's like, okay, bet, like, Impish 188 with, like, a helmet. It's like, oh, like, I really need it to live, like, you know, Calyrex Astral Barrages, bet, Assault Vest, like, thanks some hits. Oh, my Amoonguss matchup is, like, really bad. I need a pivot. It's like, bet, throw safety goggles on, you know, run whatever EVs you need. It's like, oh, like, we've even seen people be like, oh, I just, like, want to run, like, fast, just, like, sorry, like, offensive, like, you know, I've seen people go, like, 196 Adamant, like, Assault Vest, just, you know, throw off a Flare Blitz or a Knock. We've also seen, like, in some formats, people like, oh, Raging Bolt with Assault Vest is really annoying, just go, like, Jolly Max Speed. I think Jolly Max, correct me if I'm wrong, Jolly Max Speed was also, like, a Timid Ursa Luna set as well. I think we saw in Reg H, where, like, people going, like, Timid Life Orb, and it was just like, oh, my Instant outspeeds, it knocks off your Life Orb. and now
Yeah,
you're having a bad
I
time.
was one of those people.
Yeah, so I mean, look, again, I don't think we need to say much. This is arguably the greatest Pokemon to ever exist. I will say I am actually a little worried about it in Champions without without Terra. I've said this for a long time. I actually think Annihilate was created to like be the answer to this guy. And
Oh yeah,
I think
definitely.
Terra kind of saved it. Not to say I think Incin's going to be bad by any means. Like, it feels like every gen they try to make it worse, right? We just got Annihilate, we got Scrappy buff, we got Clear Amulet, we got Inner Focus buff, right? Like, it feels like they do absolutely everything in their power to make it Incineroar a worse Pokemon, and it still is like the most used Pokemon in like every format. And if it's not number one, it's like top 3.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like it's just it's one of the goats. So you got to
Yeah.
put it in S tier.
As much as it does pain me as a Chiyu fanboy. Let's talk about Tsareena real quick. I think the Pokemon itself isn't all that impressive, but its ability, if Farigiraf is not doesn't exist, is it's pretty good, right? How do you?
Yeah. Like Tsareena, it did win Japanese nationals back in 2017 on Ryota Otsubo's team, who ended up going on to win the world championship. It is a solid Pokemon. Queenly Majesty was a good ability. And the fact that it does get like a relatively decent move pool, like it gets grass moves, fighting moves, ice moves, that does really help it out a lot. So it's solid. Like it's never going to be one of the best Pokemon in the format, but like it's going to always be like okay in a format where there is a bit of where it's a bit lower in power level. So yeah, that's kind of what I have to add.
Its ability is also like just broken, right? Like again, of the priority blockers, it's like probably number 3 behind like Indeedee and Farig. But like it does have like triple axle now, which is pretty cool. So I could definitely see a world where it's like good. Like I would just say it's good in the right format. I think if Farig and Indeedee aren't legal, it's like if you need a way to like slow Incin down, this is your guy. But it's also like just good. Like we've seen it in the past with like Kyogre Rain teams where it's like it is the way you keep your Kyogre safe. So
yeah,
I'm happy to put it bottom of B, I think. We'll go to Oranguru though. Do you have like many thoughts on this? Like I've seen some people saying that this is actually the like premier Trick Room setter of the Pokemon that have been shown so far. Like this is the goal.
I mean, I think the premier Trick Room setter is probably Sinashta, but the thing about Oranguru is that it was pretty good back in 2017. People used a strategy called Instruct on it, where they would set up Trick Room, bring in Torkoal, and then click Instruct, and then use Eruption twice. You could essentially do the same thing with Ursaluna, just because I'm pretty sure it gets access to Telepathy as an ability.
So it does. You bring up a fantastic point, by the way, for something I was going to talk about. Do you want to like jump in real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So,
no, you go for it, man.
As I'm sure you've seen, there's a lot of theory right now around the fact that we may no longer have IVs, right? Or like adjustable IVs. If that is the case, it actually does make Instruct strategies way harder for Pokemon like Ursaluna. Wait, is it Ursaluna? No, because you want to be slower, right? What am I thinking of? Oh, don't worry. I've cut you off for no reason here. Because Ursaluna would be fine. Because Ursaluna naturally on the speeds. I saw something on Twitter the other day where it was like talking about Instruct strategies where like there are Pokemon that are faster. Maybe it was like a Raging Bolt or something. Like there's Pokemon that are faster, but like because you can't manipulate IVs anymore, you can't do the same cheese. But yeah, sorry, ignore me. That was I'm wrong here. I apologize. Instruct Ursaluna is great with telepathy.
Yeah, so it could be like I think decent in the right circumstance, but like this is the thing that I'm worried about is people click Instruct and then Ursaluna just clicks Earthquake twice after getting a Guts Flame War boost. So, but yeah, like it could be good.
Yeah, I think I'm happy to put it in B tier. Like I don't think it's gonna be like crazy by any means, but certainly in the right format, I think it's a good Pokemon.
Yeah.
Kommo-o. I think this is a decent one. When it gets its Z move back, how much do you think it changes its viability?
Well, if it gets its Z moves back, then it definitely goes from B tier to A tier. I remember like back in like 2018, it was just like nuts to kind of deal with. Because the thing is, back then Haze wasn't as common as a strategy. Now it's a bit more common because Dozo Giri is more mainstream. But Kommo-o, like when it had its Z move, it was really good, and it paired up really nicely with Mega Gengar as well, because you would get off the Z move, get the boost, and then Gengar would trap you in, and you couldn't switch into something that could resist or be immune to it. So yeah, like it was really strong back in 2018. It's all very heavily dependent on the Z move, though.
So you might be able to answer my question. I've just Googled this because I actually had no idea what it did. 185 base power special attack that also gives you an Omni boost.
Yep. That's what it did.
So it's like Draco Meteor on steroids, but instead of dropping your special attack, it gives you +1 to everything.
Yeah,
okay.
That's exactly what it did.
Is it spread or is it single target?
It was spread when it was used, at least from my memory.
So you're telling me this is like, I don't want to say it's like Dragon Energy off a Regidrago, but it's kind of like a Dragon Energy off a Regidrago. But
yeah,
it gives
man.
Do you get the Omni boost first or after?
So you get it after you use the Z move. I'm
so
also doing this off
more
of like
balanced.
Yeah, like I'm doing this off of pure memory, so I might be totally wrong, but you do get an Omni boost at some point. I think it's after you use the Z move.
I mean, that would make sense, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look,
yeah,
that's pretty broken. This mon's also like pretty flexible, right? Like we've seen the Iron Defense body press stuff, which is like really good off it. It's like probably is one of the better fighting types with it. It's kind of like budget Zama, I guess. The Clangorous stuff is definitely kind of cool. Like if it gets like Z move plus like Flamethrower with like Protect, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, I think I'm happy to go B tier. I think you're right. Like that Z move seems so broken that if it existed, it's probably A tier. But I think for now, it's probably B.
Yeah.
We've got Hat here too. I think Hat's probably like. Do you think Hat's like another B tier mod where like it kind of needs Indeedee and it kind of needs it to be a lower power format and it's like great. But then like I think the second restricted's illegal. This guy probably drops down a bit.
Yeah, it really does kind of need Indeedee to, I think, not necessarily function, but to be just able to kind of keep up with other Pokemon. And the fact that Indeedee isn't around from our knowledge, I think it does hurt it a lot.
Look, I'm sure Indeedee will be back at some point. So like I think it's fine to talk about like how it will function when it is back. But again, I think it really relies on Indeedee. And it's like, if Indeedee is like there and it's like a low power format, it's probably A tier. But like, even if Indeedee's there and it's a high power format, it's probably like C tier. So like, I'm happy to like, I think put it in B, where it's like in the right format, this thing will be an absolute menace, but it really needs like, I think things to go right for it to be like as good as it can be.
Yeah, I think that's very fair.
Because we move on to Dragapult, my goat Polteezy. I guess how do you feel about this? Like, I almost want to say it's like A tier, but like at the same time, it's like it felt pretty average in like some Scarlet and Violet formats, but like from what I understand, it was also like really good for like most of Sword and Shield.
Yeah, so Sword and Shield, it was one of probably the biggest benefactors of Dynamax, just because it was able to really take advantage of the weakness policy set. And then also, if you didn't want to run weakness policy, you could also do a Life Orb set. Without Dynamax, it's a little bit tougher to run, but the fact it does get Clear Body and it's so fast, I do think makes it pretty strong. I don't know if I would put it in A, though, just because of the new Garchomp form that is around.
True.
But with that being said, like, it still is going to be strong. You could make an argument for probably bottom of A. I would say it's maybe the top of B right now, but it could also move up very well on the list too.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think as a Dynamax support, it was also really good. Like, we saw the Surf stuff into the Colossals, which I think like Wolfie ran, which was pretty good. I think as like a fast like Screens Will-O-Wisp mon, it's like also not bad. But, like, I agree. Like, I think if they gave this mod Poltergeist, I think I would probably have to move it to A tier. But currently, because it doesn't have, like, an amazing Ghost Stab, like, I'm pretty happy with B. Like, again, in the right format, it's good. Like, we saw those, like, MDB teams where he was, like, popping off with Dragapult. But then we also saw Dragapult get, like, no play for, like, 3 straight formats. So, like, even in, like, Reg H, it was, like, good at the start of Reg H and then, like, not again for the rest of it.
Yeah, it just kind of fell off a cliff, unfortunately.
Yeah. Ursaluna, I think we can probably both agree this is quite easily an A tier Pokemon, right? One of the absolute greatest Trick Room sweepers of all time. The best Guts Facade Pokemon probably to ever exist. Is there anything else you can really say about Big Luna here?
I mean, the only thing I can add to that is that it's a world champion now.
Hmm.
And the thing about Ursaluna, which also I find kind of very fascinating, is that it feels like whenever there's another tournament that's considered like the biggest tournament of all time, it feels like it's always one of the Pokemon that ends up winning it.
Yeah.
So like that was the case with like internationals, and then it was the case with like I think a regional that happened. Like it feels like this thing is always winning everything. And it makes sense. Like it's so good under Trick Room, and even outside of Trick Room, it just has such great natural bulk that it could stay on the field without the Trick Room and still blow something up. And there have been people that have been running it more in a much more flexible way, where you are using Tailwind also besides it. So you
Yeah.
run like a certain
Tailwind.
speed stat, and then it just outspeeds something in Tailwind, and it's like, oh my goodness. So this thing's really strong. I think it's very solidly into A. You can maybe even make an argument that it's right at the bottom of S tier,
Mm,
but I think
I'm
that
with you
might
on
be
that.
a little too high with it. But I mean, this thing is just—it's really strong. I think
Yeah.
it's
I
a
mean,
great Pokemon.
Headlong Rush 2 is also kind of broken. I will say I kind of think it might get a little worse without Terra. Like not being able to like, Terra Ghost, I think will kind of hurt it a little bit. But in saying that, I'm sure there's gonna be counterplay to it. One thing I always like to joke about with Ursaluna as well is if you compare this guy's stats to like Rayquaza's, for example, and you get rid of both of their special attack stats, like they've got like the same total like base stats. The difference is like Rayquaza has like 45 more speed, but like I think Ursaluna being 50 speed is like more beneficial than Ray being 95. Which is kind of crazy that
Yeah.
like this guy is like its stats are almost comparable to that of restricted legendaries. Like any fast restricted that doesn't like its speed stat probably has worse stats than this Pokemon, which is like
Oh
crazy
yeah,
to think about
absolutely.
because it's like it prefers being slow and its special attack stat being 45 is like who gives a crap, right? But yeah, like I agree. I think this is like I think this is a better one than T-Tar. Probably better than D-Knight. Like I would say yeah, it's like probably mid to high A tier for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, dude, we're almost there. We're almost at the end. Baskia Legion. I think this is like probably like a great B tier mon, right? I think it's like a Swift Swimmer in like a low power format. It's great. I think it's like a Scarf adaptability mon. It's also good. Like Last Respects is also just like a broken move. Is there anything else I guess you want to add to that?
Yeah, like this is always going to be one of those Pokemon that's very solid. Last Respects is a really, really good move, especially for like being a late game sweeper. The thing is, unfortunately, right now there isn't really any rain users, so you would probably have to run the adaptability choice scarf set. With that being said, though, it still is very strong.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I think this thing's going to be solid. I don't think it's going to be like A or S tier, but on a very specific team, I think it can do pretty well.
Yeah, and again, I think like this set here is like really good. Like Last Respects and Wave Crash Flip Turn is great. Another thing as well is like in a non-Terra format, it's really hard to buff your own stab move. So I do think having like a adaptability to Last Respects is just like, I think it's really good. But to me, I think this is probably like a top of B tier mon.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty fair.
This one's I'm actually curious to see what your opinion on this is. Where do you put Sneasler? Because I was very adamant after Reg H, like when I saw guys like JUX9 like saying like, oh no, like we know how this Pokemon works now. It's gonna be really good in restricted. I was like, I don't think it's gonna be good in restricted. Like if Urshi exists, I don't think it's good, and I kind of stand by that. But in any format where Urshifu does not exist, this might just be the best fighting type in the game.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty fair. Like, the thing about it is Dire Claw is just it's such a really difficult move to play against. I mean, it does inherently make the game more random, but that's kind of the strength that Caesar has with it. Like, you could get a random sleep on turn one that totally changes a game and makes you
Mm-hmm.
just win automatically. And having a move like that, it just can change and flip so many situations
We've
just
all
on a
been
whim.
there. I
Oh yeah, like
yeah.
I remember I was running Lumberry Salamence in order to beat this thing because I just hated it so much. But
That is
like
crazy.
yeah, but Dire Claw it warps the game so much, and a lot of people would have to prepare for it. So I think this thing's going to be pretty solid, like probably top of B, maybe even bottom of A, just because not having access to Unburden with the terrains does hurt a little bit. But then again, you could also run a White Herb set to kind of ignore Intimidate and then get the Unburden boost anyway. So like you could kind of make up for it in certain ways.
Can I give you something here, right, that I think actually is really slept on? I kind of mentioned it earlier, right? But hear me out, right? Imagine, right, you lead Sneasler Kangaskhan and you coaching the Kangaskhan. Or you lead Sneasler Metagross and you like coaching the Metagross. Or even like Aegislash, right? You can coaching the shield form Aegislash. It's slow and then slaps him with something. And then it clicks King Shield. And then you're coaching it again. And it's like, I'm just like looking, and like even D-Knight, like Mega D-Knight, like you're adamant, you just click coaching. Like there are so many Megas, I think, that are going to benefit from coaching. And this might straight up just be like the best coaching mon in the game with its just like natural speed stat. Like you look at this, like, yeah, like what's it hit? Is it 130? 120. Yeah, there's like, there is not many mons in the game at all. Like, it's literally like Mega Lucario Z and Zeraora. Like, they're the only two that are apparently faster coaching mons, which is kind of crazy to think about. But like, I'm kind of with you. I would almost argue it's A tier. But just because of Urshifu, I think it's probably the best B tier mon.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
because like,
I think
it can be
also
offense, it can be support. Yeah, because like my other thing as well. Like, did you ever play Sneasler plus like Rillaboom Incineroar?
Oh, dude,
dude, this was my favorite way to beat Dondozo.
Strong.
Dude, the amount of Dondozos I beat, where you would get them in the cycle, and then eventually one fake out gets the poison touch, and then they can't move because you have 45 fake outs, and you just poison them, and it's so funny. It is so funny, especially when they're like leftovers, and you give them grassy terrain because you technically still out damage it over time. It's just really funny because it's like, I'm gonna click fake out on you 50 times, and you're not gonna move.
Yeah, that's really...
it. Oh, dude, it's so funny. So a personal favorite of mine here, we got the Goat Mousehold. I think this is an easy B tier, potentially A. What are your thoughts on the mouse?
So I think, like, because when I was looking down the list, I saw that it was one of the very few Pokemon that could actually click redirection moves. So with that being the case, I actually would say it's probably like near the top of B tier. I wouldn't necessarily put it in A just because when you start comparing it to those top level mons, it's just not as strong.
Yeah.
But the big thing is that you could actually run Mousehold Archaludon in this format.
Yes.
Which still is very much a viable strategy. So I think that does increase the value of Mousehold a lot more. So yeah, like this thing I think is pretty decent, just across the board.
Yeah, and another thing too is like, as a friend guard redirection mon, it's also just really good, right? Like you think about putting this thing next to like a Metagross or a Kang, and it's like its ability to keep them safe, or even like a Mega D-Knight is just kind of crazy. And the offensive set too is like a little sneaky because like, again, I would have to check the calcs, but something like I would assume a Pop Bomb would just pick up a Charizard pretty comfortably, especially like CTS, right? If you're playing like the Global Challenge and you lead something like, say, like Archaludon Mousehold, but then you just like Pop Bomb the Charizard, you're probably just going to KO it, right? Like I'm pretty confident that would go down. Like again, I'd have to calculate, like maybe you get Kang, like a Kang probably does live it just because it's so bulky, but like there's a few Megas that I think would just get one shot by a Pop Bomb. Which I do think is kind of funny.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like
so
I'm happy to go B tier. Yeah, I think it's B. I'm happy to go B. Like I love the mon, so for me it's good. Do you think Tinkaton has a niche? Like, does Mold Breaker Fake Out actually do anything?
I mean, I don't see Mold Breaker really coming into play, but the fact that it is a Fake Out user, I think alone does increase the value. And it does actually have one of, if not the best type combination in the game in Fairy Steel.
That is true.
It's just, the unfortunate thing is, it's that Gigaton Hammer only works every other turn. And if you just protect on those turns when it can use it, then, you know, it makes it where Tinkaton essentially can't do really any damage.
Yeah, and its stats are like, its offensive stats are also really garbage.
Yeah, so I would say it's niche. I don't think it's going to be any higher than that. Like, it might be on like
I'm happy to go
a really cool team here and there, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with niche. Like, because again, I don't think its peak is that great, but its floor is definitely very low. But we have another one, the GOAT, the balance himself, Mr. Palafin. I would say that like Palafin is like, again, he's like, when the format is right, this is like arguably the best Pokemon in the format, but when it's wrong, it is unplayable.
Yeah. I would say with this format, since it's such a limited pool right now, it's actually pretty good. And the fact that Dozogiri is in the format and it's one of the few Haze users, I think does increase the value of it a lot right now. So yeah, I think it's going to be like pretty solid. But we'll also have to see in the coming weeks like what else is added to the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it is a solid Pokemon.
One thing I will throw out there as well, there was like, I don't know if you ever saw it, there was like one rain team that was like CTS where it was like Palafin, Dozogiri with Pelipper, and people were running like special on the Palafin and on the Dozo. Because you could go like Terra Normal Specs Boomburst with Surf, and then you could also go Life Orb Surf on the Dozo with Wave Crash, which was like kind of funny. It's like really CTS, but like Palafin, like its special attack stats not that bad, where like a Choice Spec Surf in Rain actually does like a bit. But you know, I agree with you. I think this is a mon where it's like when I look at the format and I see Incin and I see Sinistcha, and I'm just like, okay, like that is like a fire, water, grass core if I've ever seen one. Like when you look at the water types in the format right now, or at least like what's legal, like outside of like maybe Starmie, like this is probably the best one. I mean, maybe you could also argue Gyarados, but like this is the best water type that you would want to throw on a fire, water, grass core.
Oh yeah, like I think you could also argue Gyarados, like you said, but either Gyarados or Palafin, like if you're looking for something that could just be slapped onto a huge amount of teams, like those are the two you would want to go for. Where Starmie, the team has to be a little bit more curated towards it. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think B is pretty good. Like maybe there's an argument for A, but like I think it's, again, it's kind of like the Urshifu theorem where it's like if Urshi's in the game, but there is just a better water type, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately for it.
I guess next we'll rank the next two as a combination. Do you think Dozogiri is A tier? Like,
yeah,
I find it will always find a way into a format.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, it's so unique because it's one of those cores where either your team is prepared to beat it or it's just not at all. Like, and it's one of those matchups where you either you win against it or you just give it up. So Dozogiri, it will always have a place in the format. It will always be a combination on a team somewhere, anywhere. And I feel like, you know, as of recently, we've been seeing a lot of Dozogiri teams, at least at bare minimum, making like top 16 and regional level events, just because a lot of people don't end up preparing for it. So
yeah,
it will always be strong. So yeah.
Has two great abilities as well, like Unaware for the mirror and like other setup, and then on top of that as well, Oblivious for Intimidate I think is great. The really interesting thing though that we actually have to talk about when it comes to Dozogiri is Tatsugiri, because do not forget we have the Tatsugiri eye now. What will Mega Tatsu do? I don't know. Like, I have joked before saying that, like, Mega Tatsu can, like, I don't know, jump out the mouth, or it gives, like, the double Omni boost or something like that. We don't know. Like, I know in Best of One, they gave this, in the ZA Pet mod, they gave it, like, Drizzle, which I do think is, like, really interesting. Like, if Tatsu actually got Drizzle, that would be, like, kind of cool. Obviously, we have no idea what it's going to do. It's stat changes on Mega Tatsugiri are like whatever. Like, I don't know if you've seen them. They're not like anything special. It becomes a way better special attacker, but its bulk is still like average. Its speed stats not great. Like, it's I don't really have anything positive or negative to say about it. Just we need to know what its ability is, I think. Like, if it's like Commander ×2, or it's like it jumps in Dozo's mouth but then can jump out or something, then I think it becomes really scary. Like, if you could use the mon outside of Dondozo, but yeah, I think these mons are just like a solid A tier.
Yeah.
We'll move on to King Gambit here. Would you go B or A tier for this guy?
This is like one of those Pokemon I'm always so back and forth on, because it feels like it has moments where it's really great, and then it has moments where it's not that it's bad per se, but like there's just other Pokemon that you gain more value from. I mean, the fact that like Charizard has been added back to the game does hurt it a little bit, But then also you got to take into account like it does match up pretty well into Metagross and like Aegislash, which are other steel types that it is competing with.
Yeah. And like Kang
So
and Gang, it's like it's got its
yeah,
matchups,
so
man.
it's really hard because it feels like the stuff it's good against, like it's really good against, but the stuff it's bad against, it's like really bad against.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. It's like, and look, it's a Defiant one too, so it also has like naturally like a good matchup into like balance because Incin doesn't want to just like pivot around. It's like a super natural holder of the Assault Vest. Like, I think it's good. I think like the SD stuff, like I do wonder if losing Terra will hurt it. I also think it's like it again, like I think the issue with it is it's like the second Urshi is legal, I think this mon just gets bad because it's like you're just close combat fodder. Like I'm pretty comfortable putting this thing at like the top of B tier. I think it's like a really good balance breaker. I think it's like always going to be able to find a spot in any metagame. It's just how good it is in that metagame, I think is the main question.
Yeah, I think B is very fair. Like it might be able to move to A tier, but again, it's very format dependent.
Next one here though, the Teapot. Now, I know you're pretty high on this. Like part of me thinks this is probably like a high B tier. Would you go higher or lower on that?
So with Sinastra, like I think B or A is relatively fair. The thing that I do want to point out about Sinastra though is that it feels like every format it's been in, even though it hasn't been the best Pokemon, it's always been usable.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
even
its
in
ability's
restricted
great.
formats.
Like its
Yeah,
ability's
like it has a
unreal.
great ability. It has a really nice matchup into Dozogiri because of Curse and the fact that, you know, you could burn it with Machigacha. It gets access to Trick Room. It pairs up really nicely with Ursaluna to kind of help negate, you know, the damage you take from Flame Orb. And then the other thing is like, you know, like every format it's been in, it's been solid. Like it was good in
Yeah.
Reg H, it was good it was even good in Regulation I with dual restricteds. Like it got top 8 at a international level event. So I think that this is always going to be a solid Pokemon. It's never going to be the best, but it's always going to be good.
Yeah. I'm with you, right? And again, like you think about like its support set where it's like you got the Rage Powder, you got the Trick Room, right? You can set up with Carmine. Like there was also that like one Heat Proof team. I don't know if you remember it, but it was like it had Heat Proof to like get rid of one of its weaknesses. It's just I'm with you. I think it's a great support. Very format dependent on like how good it actually is, but I think anywhere between B and A tier is probably where it goes. So I'm pretty happy with like top of B tier.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
What are your thoughts on Archaludon? Because again, this is another one that's like kind of interesting where in a lower power format, it is typically king, but it's like not as good, I guess, once you start getting into the really powerful formats.
Yeah, I know what it is with Arch is I do think like even in those powerful formats, there are times where it does pop up because people like Dozogiri don't prepare for it because they just don't have it on the radar. And then it does really, really well in an event or places very highly in a grand challenge. The thing is, like, when we do look at the Pokemon available that we see on the list, like, there is Whimsicott, which pairs up really nicely with it with Beat Up. You also have things like Mousehold, which also pair up nicely with it. And then, you know, we do see the makings of, like, cores that it has been a part of. Like, there was Archaludon, Incineroar, Whimsicott, Sinastra, Ursaluna. Like, all those Pokemon that it paired nicely with are available right now. So you could very easily start with like an Arch team and then like peel off one of the Pokemon and then stick in a Mega that you feel like will be pretty good. And the other thing about it is that it does actually pair up pretty nicely into the other Steel types. Like, you know, Metagross can't really touch it because then it will just kind of boost its defenses with Stamina. It does get access to Snarl to kind of keep things like I was about to say King Gambit, but I meant Aegislash at bay, and then it gets obviously Body Press for King Gambit. So I do think it's a really solid Pokemon. I would say it's probably... Oh, yeah, and King as well. I would probably say it is A tier, but also, you know, even its other set with Electro shot with Power Herb is also viable too, and it can be a way to kind of counteract Charizard if you really want to.
Yeah, true. You just eat any hit, set Tailwind, nuke it with Electro Shot.
Yeah, so I would say this is solidly A tier, but I wouldn't make it like S tier by any means.
Yeah, I agree. I'm happy to go bottom at A tier because, like, again, I think this mon's issue would come when it's like a restricted format. But again, like, I think any non-restricted format, this mon will always have a place. And I think the lower the power level, the better it is, just because of its set flexibility. Like, as you said, Assault Vest and Power Herb are both just really, really good on it.
Yep.
And then I guess finally we have Hydrapple. This is Hydrapple, right? Yeah, because
It's one of them.
Yeah. I think it's niche. I think it's like a Trick Room mon. It's like kind of interesting. It's got some like good stats. Like its HP is good, its defense is good. I think it's like a natural Assault Vest mon. Super Sweet Syrup and Regenerator are both good abilities. Its signature move Fickle Beam is also like kind of interesting. Like a 30% chance just to like do 160 base power dragon move is kind of busted, I think. But yeah, like I think there's like a Trick Room mon. This guy's like not bad. Like having 44 speed, like this could be, especially without Terra, like this could be your team's answer to what's it called? Ursaluna, right? Like if you look at this list, if you really need an answer to like Trick Room Ursaluna, like there's not many options. Like it is kind of the apple, I think, and like maybe like Chestnut.
Yeah, and I would also put Sinasha probably in there,
True,
but
actually,
yeah.
Sinasha
But
also
the thing
like
is,
hardwalls it actually.
oh yeah, it does. But the thing about the apple, I'm just gonna say the apple because I will always mess up its name. But the thing about it is, you are right. Like it does underspeed Ursaluna outside of Trick Room, so it is one of the few things that can outspeed in Trick Room and then potentially KO with a really strong Leaf Storm. So it does have a pretty nice niche in that regard. So like I would say like it can be usable in the right circumstance, but it obviously is never going to be like on any of the upper echelons of like the Pokemon that we see.
Yeah, I think I'm happy to put it in the C tier.
Yeah, I think that's very fair, personally.
Well, I guess we finally finished the list. Surprisingly enough, it took a bit longer than I think we both anticipated, but I think it was still pretty good. We managed to go in depth on a lot of things here. I guess the final question is there anything you would move off this? Or like move around, I should say.
I mean, for the most part, like I think it's very solid. Like the only thing that I might even consider moving up is probably Sinasha to like maybe A tier, but at the same time, I am very biased towards it. So like I think I'm probably not looking at it through a very fair lens. So yeah, like I would say maybe we just keep it in B tier, but overall I think this list is like pretty much the same that I would have. So yeah, like it looks pretty solid to me.
I agree. I'm just kind of like moving things around right now. Like I'm just trying to like figure out, like I think that's like the worst one here. Dude, Raichu's like so weird because like Raichu could be like the absolute best Pokemon in this tier, but it could also just be like the worst. I don't know. I don't think I want to start trying to I guess I don't think I want to like rank it in order because I feel like it's going to start getting really, really messy. But yeah, I guess before we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts?
I mean, I'm really excited for Pokemon Champions, and yeah, like I think we're gonna have a really great time when it does come out, and I'm really excited what it will do for competitive because it just makes it more accessible to people. Because obviously, one of the things about it is that you can have it on your cell phone, which I mean, everyone has that nowadays. So. Yeah, I'm just like overall really excited. So
yeah, man, I am with you on that. I cannot wait for this game. But yeah, anyway, Jack, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you for coming on. I guess one final last shout out. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you?
So my YouTube channel is JPTK-VGC. That's pretty much where you could find me. I don't really have social media or anything, so if you try to find me on there, you're not going to. So yeah, if you guys ever want to like watch videos about VGC and the history of it or battle videos, then I'm always there. So yeah.
Awesome. Right. Well, thank you for coming on, good sir. Yeah, I guess that's it. We will catch everyone in the next one. Peace.
All right.